Sky. Can you hear me? Are we back? I just got a weird notification. Okay. I got a weird notification that we were down for a second, but everything's going awry right now. But we are here reacting to news as it comes in. Again, refreshing the Blue Sky app, not Twitter. So follow us over there. We unfortunately are not live streaming on Twitter because it's down. But if you are hanging out with us here on Patriots Press Pass, we will hang out for the next hour or so and react to news as it comes in. So first and foremost, Taylor, welcome in. Thank you for joining me. Sorry for making this a few minutes late here, but we are now officially into the negotiation period. How are you feeling, and what do you think the Patriots should be doing as we start off this 2025 offseason?
Chris Godwin is back to the Bucs on a 3-year, $66 million deal.
Oh, lovely.
I hope that's the real Ian Rappaport.
It is. I just got the tweet notification as well. So
yeah, well, there's that's out of the window. That was your hopefully biggest wide receiver signing. So now we pivot to Darius Slayton.
Oh boy. Okay, so that is not good news for the Patriots to start things off. That was their top target in the wide receiver category, and he is headed back to Tampa Bay. That is according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. So does this change your opinion on the Patriots not landing DK Metcalf last night? Is that sort of throwing a wrench into some of the plans here already as we kick this thing off?
This is so funny, man. All my dreams have been shattered. Oh, my God, man. So, okay, still have Milton Williams, still have a lot of good cornerbacks, still have a lot of good DBs, and you saw Darius Slayton. I just tweeted, or do we call it tweeting anymore?
I think you post on Blue Sky.
I blued. Oh yeah, God, no, I did not.
No, you didn't.
I did not do that. I all we get is Slayton. It's Slayton and we ball, I guess. To be fair, even if they got Chris Godwin, again, we didn't know when he was going to be on the field. And as much as he was going to be that on the field guy, the one who made everything, kind of gel behind the scenes, hopefully, he was going to be your chain mover, your short to intermediate target. He was never going to be like the guy. It just stinks because this could have been a guy who transformed your young receiver room and then gave Drake May somebody that he could grow with in terms of somebody who's done it before and had success. That's where this is very disappointing. Slayton still gives you that maturity. He gives you someone who can be a mentor still in the wide receiver room, gives you more vertical speed or speed, period. Like, that's really the one place where he's significantly better than Godwin is he's a guy who can take the top off somewhat, who can get yards after the catch, not just because of missed tackles, but really because he's so fast. But still, yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. There weren't a lot of good receivers even before T. Higgins got tagged, even before some of the other moves were made, it wasn't looking too good. So yeah, obviously no Chris Godwin is not great. But hey, you got your tight ends. That's good. If you get Darius Slayton, at least, I think you have some more diversity in the wide receiver room. Like, you have the X, you have a jumble of Z slot types. Now maybe you have an X. I think you got to go to wide receiver in the draft. It felt like it was already pointing that way. Yep. But I just think if you really want to get that difference-making playmaker as a pass catcher, even though this isn't a great year for it in free agency or the draft, it's probably just going to have to come that way. But now it's also like more emphasis on the offensive line, because if you're not going to have a great receiver core, you need to be able to protect Drake May so he can make some things happen.
Good news, Twitter's back. Mine just refreshed. So that's, I guess, a good thing. It's probably in and out. It's probably going to be in and out as we
still tweeting on Blue Sky. Screw Twitter.
So yeah, I'm disappointed. I would have liked to see them land a Chris Godwin here, especially, considering them swinging or not even swinging, but missing out on the DK Metcalf sweepstakes. It's a 3-year, $66 million contract, meaning $22 million per. And according to Ian Rappaport, 2 years, $44 million are guaranteed at signing. And so I would like to hear eventually what comes out as far as if the Patriots were involved in this, and if they did put out an offer, had they won up to 25, were they sticking at 22? Is this something that they made a true run at, or did they just kind of wait and see and not let it happen? And that's kind of the thing that's bothered fans around the Patriots for a while, is they extend themselves, but do they extend themselves enough? And while I understand that you don't want to just blow money just to blow money, you also have the most cap space in the NFL, and so you can get these kind of deals done. So there are still some wide receivers out there. Cooper Kupp is set to be released. You mentioned Darius Slayton. Nick Westbrook-Akine, who has familiarity with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee before. So some interesting names there. But I think the big fish here, now we sort of shift focus to, is a guy in Milton Williams who can help this defensive front.
Also, real quick, while you're thinking, what is the policy for when you're tweeting and on Blue Sky? Can you say the same thing? Is that lame? Yeah. Are you
copy paste?
Tweet the exact same thing, or does it have to be different? Because I'm not that creative.
Copy paste all day.
Okay, all right.
There was a time when Blue Sky was starting to really hit its stride in the NFL season. I just had both apps up during like a Patriots game and copy and pasted to both sides. I wouldn't worry about it. Don't get too creative. People just want to hear your takes on both. Without Chris Godwin now, we once again pivot, and it feels like this has been sort of a long-standing tradition here. Every free agency, we come on here, we miss out on guys, and then we pivot to the next guy. So I think the only hope here is that they go and cash in on a Milton Williams here. But I guess overarching, former 49ers offensive tackle Jalen Moore signs with the Chiefs, 2 years, $30 million. So new blindside tackle for Patrick Mahomes. So that's someone who's off the board for the Patriots in the tackle sphere. But sorry, back to it. We're going to react live as these things come through. Overarching 30,000 foot view. What should the Patriots' top goal be heading into free agency right now?
I think Twitter's down again. Jeez Louise. So offensively, I think the goal needs to be getting the average, at least in specifically for agency. Now, typically that is what you're trying to do if you're a bad team. You're just trying to get to average because there's rarely going to be enough pieces for you to make a significant change. Now, we saw the Commanders, obviously, but as we mentioned yesterday, a lot of that had to do with the fact that that staff had familiarity with the players that they ended up bringing in. So I need the Patriots to bring in veterans, guys who've done it before. Obviously, the guys who've had success in terms of like championships and playoffs and Pro Bowls, those guys are pretty much off the board. Now you're pivoting to like Cam Robinson, Dan Moore, Darius Slayton. Maybe if they want to get another pass catcher with some explosiveness, a Juwan Thompson. But really, I don't want to say scraps. That feels so disrespectful. But, you're getting players that other teams didn't want, and it wasn't necessarily because of age or injury. A lot of these, it is because of a couple of those things, but like Slayton just didn't really move the needle enough for, I think, the Giants to really want to hold on to him. Cam Robinson's getting up there in age, and Dan Moore, I think Broderick Jones is now going to flip to the left side, and Moore has made steady progress throughout his career. Like, he's an average player, which is like the worst thing you can be to a lot of NFL fans. If you're average, it means I probably haven't heard of you, or I haven't heard good things and you suck. That's not how the NFL works. Like, just to get a guy who's solid and has been a starter for multiple years would be a big improvement for the Patriots. So offensively, try your best to get to average. Defensively is where I think you try to really get your playmakers. I think linebacker, Jamie Sherwood, Nick Bolton being gone, Zach Bond being gone, that hurts. Those could have been potentially the leaders for you moving forward. Linebacker right now is very slim, but you still got guys like Charvarius Ward, DJ Reed, Byron Murphy. At safety, you've got Javon Holland, Trayvon Moehrig. Like, there's a lot of talent if you want to improve the second level right now. And then in defensive line, obviously, there's a lot of defensive tackles, not quite as much depth on the edge, although Harold Landry probably solved some of those problems. Although I was wondering last night, as I dove deeper into Harold Landry, he and Jennings both tend to play on the offense's right side, where teams like to run the ball because they're both really good run stoppers, which makes me wonder, is Anthony Jennings now less valuable in this scheme? Even though he's not making a ton of money, even though he's been arguably their best defender over the past 2 seasons, if you want to talk about consistency, being on the field and making plays behind the line of scrimmage, really, it's been him, but he doesn't give you a lot of pass rush. And I wonder if they see Harold Landry as the guy who's a better athlete, can chase down quarterbacks, and they really rely on that interior rush. So the edge position will be an interesting one to watch, but again, offensively, get to average. Defensively, get yourself some playmakers to make life easier on the offense.
Yep, 100%. I'm seeing in the chat here, this is a copy and paste from the Godwin report, that he did take less money to stay in Tampa Bay. So as much as that stinks, like, I'm sitting here and, last night I was kind of not throwing a fit, but for all intents and purposes, upset that they did not go get DK. It felt like he was chasing the money, where a guy in Godwin look, if he wants to stay in Tampa Bay for less money and be with Baker and be with Evans and be where he's been for the first 8 years of his career or whatever it is, you can't A, knock a guy for that, and B, if the Patriots did shell out and offer him 25 per, and he just said no because he wanted to stay back, like, that's not on the Patriots. That's one of the ones where I can sit here and say, okay, they put their best foot forward on it. Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way. And so that's sort of where we stand on the Godwin front. As far as overall goals, I just think, you definitely just need to get better, right? I mean, it's one of the worst rosters in football, and it sounds super obvious, but when you have, the cap space that they have here, it's one of those things where you just kind of, you may have to overpay for guys. You may need to, stretch out a little more, give an extra year, and then use those, what this salary cap has become in the NFL, where you can kind of maneuver it and push money back and turn things into signing bonuses. Like, use that to your advantage down the line and attempt to still help yourself later on. And so we do have non-Patriots news, but top center Drew Dalman is off the board. He's headed to the Bears and will become the NFL's second highest paid center, going there for 3 years, $42 million. The Chicago Bears really helping out their second-year quarterback all along the offensive line. They signed Dalman. Last week they traded for Tooney, and they also traded for Jonah Jackson from the Los Angeles Rams. So 3 new interior offensive linemen for Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and the Chicago Bears. And so that's one that, you wonder about David Andrews, if he's going to return, if Cole Strange will end up becoming that guy. I know that's sort of a position and a player to watch here as we enter free agency, whether or not Andrews is going to be healthy enough to play, et cetera, et cetera. I know that Andrew Callahan and Doug Hyde had floated in their combine article that center was a position to watch in general for the Patriots. So I don't know if your thoughts on center or your thoughts on the Bears doing what, I don't want to say doing what the Patriots aren't right now, because I don't want to just throw a backhand to the Patriots for no reason, but they've really sort of stepped things up on their offensive line even before free agency truly started.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Doug and Andrew mentioned that center was going to be a spot for the Patriots to watch. They have a lot of guys on the market who they have some level of experience with and maybe overlap. So one, Coleman Shelton worked with Jason Huff-Tailing last year with the Bears. Also Thomas Brown, there's some overlap there. Then really a bunch of the Panther centers because of Thomas Brown still, Panthers and Bears. So you have like Brady Christensen. I think that Austin Corbett actually re-signed. Also, Cade Mays, I think, took over at center for them last season. So there's a few names on the board that the Patriots could look into. Daniel Brunskill, also, he played with the Titans for a couple years under Vrabel and then was there last year as well. So I think they're going to have an opportunity if they do want to add some more depth or something. We have no idea what the situation is with David Andrews. They can add depth if they need to. I like what the Bears are doing. I think they had way more questions on their interior in terms of not even having starting caliber talent. As we saw, they added 3 brand new pieces on the inside. Patriots have Mike Nwenu. You have David Andrews, and then also Jake Andrews, Cole Strange, Ben Brown. Like, they're not strapped for any options at the position, but if you're talking about a potential starter, if David Andrews can't play, that gets a little more difficult, probably why they'd want to add more depth with players that this new regime is familiar with. And on top of that, I think that at the left guard spot, Layden Robinson has starting potential, so I don't think Joe Tooney would have been great, but I also think it's why the Patriots weren't maybe willing to give up. Wasn't a lot for him, obviously, but maybe why they weren't more aggressive, because you could sign to Patrick McCarry, it's Tevin Jenkins, someone to add competition, but I don't know if you're going to go out of your way necessarily to get someone who's going to start for like multiple years.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I'm just looking at the reactions, not only in the chat, but across the social media in general, not just to the Patriots, but the fact that, Twitter is down here and we're just kind of waiting and scattering. And I read a report from Jonathan Jones a little earlier that the first 13 seconds would be the craziest of free agency. And really, we only have a couple here in Godwin,
just Chris Godwin, and
in Godwin and some other ones. So
and Hassan Reddick, which I don't think anybody was really sitting on, desperately waiting to know what was going to happen to him. Respectively.
Yeah. Giardi also mentioned that the Patriots do have interest in the center position, and the most valued one, Drew Dalman, does go off the board to Chicago. Schefter is tweeting to download the ESPN app for all of their updates because
Boo,
plug into Twitter
boo.
right now.
ESPN app sucks.
Yeah, it really.
Are they actually going to live update it, or are we going to get notifications like a day after something happens, like usual?
So I've actually had Schefter and Shams Charania, the NBA guy. They tweeted out like a few weeks ago, sign up for our ESPN alerts. So I did it, and they actually come in relatively like close to their tweets. So
how do you even do that?
I don't know. I clicked it and it did it for me, and I don't remember how the rest happened. So it's
I guess I'm screwed then.
Yeah, that's okay.
Try to see.
I'm just checking out this chat here, see if people aren't happy. Not sure what else we can do when we have a player leave 20 million. That's fair. Milton Williams is the only game changer. How truly upset would you be if Milton Williams doesn't end up coming here?
Very disappointed, because he seems like, unless it's another situation where he doesn't want to come here. Like, yeah, you're disappointed, but people don't want to come here. They don't want to come here. It's a reality that we had to kind of eat last year. Gonna have to do it again this year, most likely, or at least we have to so far. But if it's because of like a couple $1 million that they're not able to reach a deal with Milton Williams, that's when I'm going to get annoyed.
Yeah,
because I think this is a player that's young, has shown that he can defend the run at a high level, rush the passer at a high level, and you have the coaching staff to get the best out of him. And also, right now, he is the best free agent on the market, and it's not particularly close at this point. So it wasn't even when Godwin was on the market, if we're being honest, because he's still up there. He's still limited relatively. So, yeah, if there's no Milton Williams, then that's where I'm going to reach. I don't really know what they're doing territory, if it's because of like, dollars and change.
Well, that's 100%. That's one of the ones where Braxton Berrios is going to the Texans, 1 year, $2 million. That is interesting for all of you Alex Earl fans out there. Braxton and Alex are now headed to Houston. But yeah, on the Milton Williams front, I'm with you. Again, context needs to be added to almost everything here, where, if it's the Godwin, say he returns to Philly and takes a hometown discount, there's not much you can do about that. But if it is, the bidding war aspect, and they do quote unquote cheap out and not shell them, extend themselves a little bit more because of the money they have, that's when it's going to become disappointing. Especially, they trade Godshaw this morning. We didn't even touch on that. Godshaw goes to the New Orleans Saints for a 2026 7th round pick. So next year, 7th rounder. Good on them to get something for him. I think, that was sort of trending towards an outright release. And, that didn't happen. And so they got something. You laughing at our lovely producer in the background?
Yeah, it's like, how have they not signed anybody yet? Like 3 significant players have been signed. It's okay.
Give it time. Give it time. I can hope. But so yeah, Godshaw goes. So that's again where you're clearly retooling up front. So if you miss out on a Milton Williams and don't, fill it in there, that's when it's become very disappointing. So, we'll see where the rest of this goes. Until some things continue to trickle in, we'll sort of just hang out here for the next hour or so. But as we wait, let's listen into a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks. We'll be right back. And hopefully by the time the ad's over, the Patriots have made a nice move. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all, and all you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. So run your game all season long on Prize Picks. They now offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. And the second half of the basketball season is officially here, and the race to the playoffs is heating up on Prize Picks. So don't miss your chance to cash in as the league's best fight for playoff positioning. You think LeBron James will get more than 24 points? You think Giannis will get more than 35? Cook up those hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season. All you got to do is sign up on the Prize Picks app today. Download the app and use that code CLNS. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. That's Prize Picks. Head over there. Use that code CLNS. You get $50 instantly. Still no news, unfortunately, so I'll plug Prize Picks here for just a second. Celtics play tonight. They are headed to... Oh, no, I'm sorry. They are welcoming the Utah Jazz to the TD Garden. So head over there, download the app if you want to get in on the action. Pick more, pick less on a couple players, and submit a lineup there. Get in on the action. Use that code CLNS if you're interested. It helps us out, and it also gives you $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. So we sit here, we wait, and the Patriots still not having made a move. And that's okay. We're 28 minutes in. Only a few teams have. BJ Hill, defensive tackle, is headed back to the Bengals, according to Adam Schefter. 3 years, $33 million. That's 11 per. So one free agent defensive tackle goes off the board. You wonder if that could have a domino effect on a guy in Milton Williams. Taylor is yawning because the Patriots haven't done anything yet. But that's okay. We'll see what happens. I feel like I'm oh, that's so funny. That's good stuff. All right. What if they wait and get Cooper Kupp and Trey Hendrickson after everyone else spends the money? How would you feel about those guys potentially becoming Patriots?
Cooper Kupp is basically Chris Godwin in my brain, except probably would be on the field sooner. So I'm cool with Kupp. Okay. Trey Hendrickson, I think, would be a really nice complimentary move if you want somebody over the left tackle. I think he and Harold Landry, that could be a pretty fun duo. I'd be cool with those guys. Okay. I keep thinking about when the Darius Slayton notification hits, and I've been looking forward to him potentially signing for so long, and I still think if it happens, I'll just be like, oh, yay.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, the air is just out of my balloon right now. Hopefully it comes after Milton Williams, so there's at least some positive momentum. Gosh, man, those options really they flew off the market very, very quickly.
Sure did.
Is there another time that you can remember we saw so many mid-tier free agents get re-signed this quickly outside of last season with the Patriots?
No, not necessarily. You just mean like the market itself being so mid? Is that kind of like...
No, I mean like Jamie and Sherwood and like all these guys signing contracts the day before free agency even starts.
Oh, yeah.
Where you start, and like Chris Godwin, who might not play early on, is the second best player. And the first best player is only hitting the market because his replacement is the only guy in the league who's more efficient than him.
Yeah, last year it felt like like you said, the Patriots did it where they brought all their guys back, and so it took Jelani Tavai and Hunter Henry off the market and Kendrick Bourne, which again, those to the Patriots who were trying to sort of...
Oh yeah, and then later Devon, not the same thing, but of course Devon Godshot down the road, of course.
Javon Kinlaw is headed to the Commanders. That's interesting. He was with the 49ers when Adam Peters was there. Another defensive tackle off the board, interestingly enough, goes to Washington. Milton Williams is still out there. So that's two guys, BJ Hill and Javon Kinlaw, go out. Is there potentially some dominoes falling here with this defensive tackle position? You hope. I didn't actually catch the number on Kinlaw. And I don't think, and if I click into the tweet notification, I'm not going to be able to read it because Twitter's down. But yeah, mid-tier DP is coming off. Did Milton agree? No, Milton Williams is still on the board. We're kind of just waiting on that to hopefully fall.
If I can make my predictions, I think they're going to sign Dan Moore, Milton Williams, Darius Slayton.
Okay.
And which of the corners? The corner situation's tough.
I would take Ward. Murphy. I would take Murphy. I would take... Who's the third?
I would take pretty much all of them, but I try to think of the hell. Why am I getting called delusional and being said I'm coping? What have I even said?
Nothing. You've been just sad, which we're all sad. Nothing's happening.
I'm bored. Like I'm not even, I guess for me in my brain, boredom kind of is the same thing as sadness, but like also, okay, now I'll vent maybe. I kept seeing things in the comments yesterday saying that like I was sticking up for the team and defending the team. What did I say yesterday about, we'll go back to DK very briefly because I don't want to do it for too long. Did I say anything yesterday that I hadn't said in multiple videos before that?
About DK? No.
Yeah.
No, you kept the same energy about DK. I disagreed with it, but you never changed your angle.
And did I never, and then people were saying that like I'm saying that Slayton's better. I never said that. As a locker room person, yeah. But like I don't know. I love you, chat. Sometimes I wonder how this is being translated through my microphone. It's like a weird game of telephone with just two people. Well, I guess technically not two people, because what do we have right now? 1,100 people, according to us.
And that's pretty good because our Twitters aren't connected. So that's 11,000 or 1,100 rather exclusively on YouTube. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys hanging out. You guys are here to bully us.
I didn't mean to do that when it's just moving so fast. Yes, if there's nothing to talk about, I'm just going to kind of let the ADHD flow.
Oh yeah, this is a pure hangout. I'm sitting here actually putting together an SI.com article about all of the nonsense that all of the Twitter reactions that it's going down. So we're multitasking here. We're hanging out.
We're literally, this is a hang until we get news. This is pure. If you guys want us to answer some questions or anything, throw them in the chat. Give us something to talk about. I saw earlier someone asked if I watch Andor. Hell yeah, I watch Andor. Best thing Star Wars has done since, I think, episode 3. No, I liked Rogue One too. Also, if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen freaking, oh my God, Skeleton Crew, watch Skeleton Crew. This is my favorite Star Wars character now of all time. His name is Neil. He's fantastic. But yeah, Andor, really great show. Actually, I wonder if you'd like it. I think you'd like it because you wouldn't even realize it was a Star Wars show.
I'm not into like the sci-fi realm.
But it's not even really that. It's more basically just like a show about like a revolution against like an evil empire, which I guess sounds kind of dorky, but it's so good. It's so good, man. It's the best thing they've done in a long time. So yes, hell yeah, I've seen Andor. I'm psyched for the new season. What else are we talking about, chat? Jacoby Myers. Would you trade for Jacoby? I mean, hell yeah, I'd trade for Jacoby.
Yeah. Okay, if that was their plan A, then I would have been like, that's kind of weak. But DK goes off the board, Godwin goes off the board. Doesn't sound like T. Higgins is gonna move, at least of right now. So yeah, if they trade
TBD, man.
He is, but it's not like he's on the market, right? So you kind of have to go and do things. And so no, for them to trade for Jacoby, I would like that a lot. He is someone who he knows Josh McDaniel's system. He played for him here. He played for him with the Raiders. I think that would be a target that I would be happy that they got. Mark Daniels from Mass Live just posted on Blue Sky a short time ago that Adam Schefter on ESPN did say that the Patriots were coming at Chris Godwin very hard. Yeah. So first of all, pause. Second of all, that makes me feel better about it because at least they tried, and he just took the hometown discount, which you can't really fault him for. It's like, it's one of the, again, if they offered the same as Tampa, you weren't going to get him because he was just going to go back to where he was. Apparently they extended himself. We don't have names, or we don't have numbers out there yet, rather. But yeah, that is according to Schefter on ESPN. The Patriots did go after Godwin pretty hard. So,
speaking of which,
thanks for the chat, baby.
Thanks for the super chat, buddy.
Oh, that's so funny.
All right, what do we got? What else we got, chat? We can. Also, Blue Sky, if you don't know, Blue Sky is it's a different Twitter. It's like Threads, but people actually went to Blue Sky and stayed there.
Yeah, they do. It's its own little community, which is pretty good. Sorry, keep going.
No. I mean, literally, it's just a different version of Twitter, one that isn't run by Elon Musk. If you're someone who cares about that, I think Elon Musk is an asshole, but I'm just addicted to Twitter, so I've had a hard time doing both Blue Sky and Twitter. But with Twitter down now, everyone's flocking to Blue Sky. So if you want notifications, if you want to hear from your favorite football people, this is where everybody is right now. So just flock.
Yeah, go there, sign up. Unfortunately, we don't have we should have a CLNS code to sign up for Blue Sky, but nonetheless, what we do have is a new, I guess we can, since nothing else is going on, we can plug our new subscription service here on Patriots Press Pass. I'll have, I don't want to play the other promo because it's Godwin. So we won't play that. We won't give you a sneak peek, but we do have a new YouTube membership tiers where on top of all of the free and regular podcasts, Pat's Daily, Pat's Beat, Greg Bedard Pod, Pat's Interference, the Matt and Pat at Night, all those guys. On top of all of our free content, we are now offering exclusive memberships for bonus content. Taylor will be doing film breakdowns. We will have custom emojis in the chats. We will have live chats with probably some live Patriots Daily stuff with exclusive members. So we have a lot of it coming down the pipe. And Taylor, I'll have you in this video explain it for us right here. So we'll be right back as Taylor explains what you guys will be getting with these new YouTube memberships.
What's going on, everyone? Taylor Cowles here for CLNS Media with a very exciting announcement. Here at Patriots Press Pass, we will be introducing bonus tiers. Now, this will not affect any of the content that hopefully you've grown to know and love over here at Patriots Press Pass. It's all going to be some brand new stuff and extras so we can connect with you more and also provide you some more in-depth and high-quality content. Hopefully, you guys are going to like it. Here are the tiers and what you should be expecting from all these new bonuses. At Tier 1, we've got Rookie Starter. That'll come with ad-free content, early access to videos, 5% off of all merchandise, and even custom emojis. At Tier 2, we've got All Pro. Once again, ad-free content, early access, 10% off merchandise, custom emojis, but that'll also come with player profile film reviews and draft profiles. At Tier 3, we've got GOAT status. Same as all the other tiers, but it's going to be 20% off of all merchandise, and we're also going to have custom segments, Discord chat rooms with myself and other show hosts, as well as live film reviews with myself and whomever we've got on the podcast for that day. Hoping to have some pretty fun guests.
So that is our new YouTube membership service. 3 tiers. It is Rookie Starter, All Pro, and GOAT status. All of them you can enjoy ad-free content here on the channel. You'll get early access to videos, and as the tiers go up, you get more perks, including Discord chat rooms, a discount on merch, and live film reviews with several different hosts. So if you're into it, of course, we've had these kind of popping off in the chat lately every time we've promoted it. So if you want to do it, we'll also throw you up. If you sign up right now, we'll kind of have a blast as we get through it. So again, that is, and yeah, we do also throw up our super chats all the time. We'll react to it no matter what you say, pretty much. So fun time over here.
I would don't tempt people, please. Don't
right.
tempt people.
Hey, money talks, as we know in free agency. So, but yeah, here we are. $2 for calling you.
Oh no, Robert Spillane is the first signing.
Not Scott Spillane.
This is not going to go over well, but
Okay.
I mean, he played with Josh's Raiders. He played for the Titans under Mike Vrabel. It makes sense, but I thought he missed a lot of tackles. I thought he kind of got picked on in coverage. The guy makes plays, but I'm not
Uninspired Taylor.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There it is. Ian Rappaport's Blue Sky.
Patriots are signing standout linebacker Robert Spillane, former Raider.
That's a text from the agent.
100%. So Spillane is 29. He's been with the Raiders for the last 2 seasons. Was undrafted to the Titans in 2019. So crossed over with Mike Vrabel as well as Josh McDaniels. So similar to the Austin Hooper signing, or re-signing there, rather, he does have familiarity with both Josh and Vrabel for what that's worth. I know Josh is obviously coaching offense, so there's kind of
and there was also half a season, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. But regardless, there is some familiarity there. So they do sign linebacker Robert Spillane. That feels like their plan B to Jermaine Sherwood, realistically. But they do sign Spillane, and it is a rather uninspired signing, at least right now. We'll see what else follows through, but that is the first Patriots signing, linebacker Robert Spillane. Again, 29 years old, out of Western Michigan, undrafted. He's played with Tennessee. He's played with the Steelers, and was with the Raiders for the last 2 seasons. And according to Ian Rappaport, he's a standout linebacker. Taylor, as we quickly go through, Andrew DeSilva, friend of the show, says the Raiders fans love him. So for what it's worth, he's a.
And I will say this, like, the guy makes plays. Like, okay, so I'll go through his stats right now. So he had a couple sacks. I know he had 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, but also allowed 111 passer rating when targeted. So, I mean, this is a guy who brings familiarity. I think that he seems like the kind of guy where he just kind of goes about his business, does his thing, and isn't going to say anything inflammatory. So I could see Patriots fans liking him.
Sure.
Maybe I got to dive into the tape to feel a little bit better about it, but I'm not a huge fan, honestly. From the little bit of tape I saw of him when I was kind of freshening up on some guys last night, I was like, oh man. I told Andrew De Silva actually last night. I think we were talking about it, and Spillane's fine, but I think that linebacker is going to be a priority in the draft.
100%.
If they don't make another significant move.
Yeah, this can't be, again, plan A. This can't be the splash, right? It's not. Again, I would love to see the money. Because that's going to kind of dictate things as well. If they got him on a cheaper contract or what have you, if they had to overextend themselves for Robert Spillane, then that's something that we can kind of, a bridge we can cross when we get there. But that is the Patriots' first signing. Excuse me. And people aren't happy. People want Elliott Wolf fired already.
Are we surprised?
Not necessarily.
Also, he's talking about
Spillane is going to call us
Elliott Wolf. It's Mike Vrabel. We spent like all week of the combine talking about how Wolf can say whatever he wants. It's Mike Vrabel. So I don't know why. I mean, I know why he's the lightning rod, but like I'm being too honest. I'm being too honest.
Okay. Nuts and bolts signing. This is also accurate. What we talked about with the sort of setting a foundation. Jimmy Garoppolo goes back to the Rams. Jordan Lewis, cornerback, goes to the Jaguars. He is the highest paid nickel in the NFL. For what that's worth. Kind of uninspired right now.
I play nickel, so that means Byron Murphy is probably going to make more than that.
Yeah, that is fair. But I am uninspired is sort of look at the
fine.
quotes.
Like, I just think it's fine, huh?
The quotes in standout that Amit put in the L3 on our screen right now. Patriots signing standout linebacker. Hey, this is one of those ones where you hope they prove you wrong, right?
And also, this is literally what the Raiders were doing last year, or the Commanders did last year, sign people you already know. Like,
right.
That's all they're doing so far, because obviously, if Milton Williams starts going off the board, and who else is even good? And then, like, they don't sign any of the top cornerbacks, that's where I will start understanding people getting upset. But, like, you lost out on DK Metcalf, who the team apparently, like I said last night, didn't think was a good locker room fit, especially for the price. So that probably was never going to happen anyway. And again, like, I was consistent in my stance in that. And then Chris Godwin, yes, we all thought that he'd be great for the locker room and that he'd be a good chain mover. These are two guys that didn't even probably consider the Patriots seriously. So I just don't understand where the vitriol comes from. Like, I think we all just need to take a quick breath.
I kind of agree, but I also understand I understand fans being upset with this team because, other teams do.
Soon, dude. Come on.
What? Too soon?
It's not logical. No. It's like, I get it, but it's not logical right now. The DK stuff, like, I understand being upset, but I'm telling you, it just doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at where this team is going, what they're trying to do with the locker room, which is significant. Vrabel has pounded the table about getting guys that fit what they're trying to do and all this stuff. And literally, I sent you a video last night of a 1.5-minute long compilation of all DK Metcalf's fights. And it was a year old. It was a year old. Yeah. It's not even from 2024. So, like, I understand he's fun, he's exciting, and like for folks who only see that part, because like not a lot of Patriots fans are watching Seahawks games. Sure. I get it. But I'm saying, as someone who was watched DK and has been asking people to try to get more information and do my research, I never felt comfortable with him being a guy in this locker room unless they got it. And what did I say yesterday also? I'd feel better if they had Godwin, but it's like, what if they lose Godwin? And what if Slayton isn't on the team? You really don't have anybody who's that adult in the room who can maybe counterbalance if Metcalf's kind of throwing things off a little bit and bringing a little too much negativity or whatever it is, the wide receiver diva thing. All the great ones do it, but DK is not at the same level as those guys. So, like, they don't have Chris Godwin. If they missed out on him and just had DK and a bunch of young guys, I think that would be a recipe for disaster.
At least the chat is telling us the numbers for Spillane. It sounds like 3 years, $37 million.
Whoa.
It's a lot of cash.
3 years?
3 years, 37 mil. I'm trying to find an actual report. I don't know if it's a chat spam. A lot of people said it, so I'm not gonna doubt them. But if anyone could point us towards the report that has the Spillane numbers, we would appreciate it. Matt Miller, Jeremy Fowler, excuse me. 3 years, $37 million for middle
Someone put the
linebacker.
link in the chat, please.
Here, let me do it. Actually,
I'm updating the website right now.
I'm gonna send it in our private chat behind the scenes if you can see it.
Yep, thank you.
Make sure that goes to the, yeah, there you go.
Thanks, Boo.
Yeah, so it's Robert Spillane Day, ladies and gentlemen. We'll always remember Monday, March 10th as Robert Spillane Day in the New England area. Hopefully it's a surprise one, because someone in the chat told us that we were let me find it, because we're glazing trash players and making excuses. I think we're both pretty uninspired by the Robert Spillane signing right now.
Yeah,
I
wasn't like doing backflips over Harold Landry either at the time.
Right.
I think honestly, I've come around. We can actually talk Harold Landry for a second if we want.
Yeah.
Because I have a better understanding of what that signing probably was meant to do. Because everyone talks about the pass rush win rate, and I think not that I'm like excusing it. It's not. It's unsightly. It was the worst among edge defenders, but I think there's a little more context to what exactly I think he's going to be for this defense.
Sure. What do you got? Let's hear it.
Oh, so basically,
we'll go right now. Go right into it, baby. Until we get some other news, I'll let you talk my ear off about Harold Landry.
I kind of see it as a spectrum for like Patriots perspective. So it's not like totally perfect, but like Judon's in the middle, Jennings is on one side, or like Harold Landry's in the middle. I think Judon is on one side and then Landry's on Jennings is on the other. Like those guys, he's very good against the run. He has more athleticism than Jennings, which is why he's a little more like Judon. And the way that they got their sacks, especially Judon his first season in New England, very similar. They can win around the edge. They can win with inside counters, but a lot of their pressures come from high effort and then scheme things like line games or whatever, where they're not actually getting blocked. So when you look at the pass rush win rate, it's kind of crazy. Everybody says, oh, Harold Landry tore his ACL, his get off is worse. He has gotten a faster get off every season in the NFL. It got significantly better after his ACL tear. And last season, he had the fastest get off of any linebacker in the NFL who rushed the passer at least 10 times. So that's not true. The guy still got a very good first step. What I think it was is, one, the scheme for the Titans last season wasn't as aggressive as it's been. They didn't use as many stunts, less opportunities for Harold Landry to slant inside, which I think is pretty key for him to be able to threaten different ways. Also, the Titans, really the strength of their rush a lot of the times is the interior. So you're seeing a lot, especially against these mobile quarterbacks, Landry's not really trying to like get around the edge all the time. Most of it is him just playing contain, right? So he's really like against like Drake May, for example. Sometimes I think he's a little bit too passive and he kind of just ends up standing there. He doesn't even try a move. But I think more of his responsibility was contain. And I don't really mind that, because usually your best pass rusher's on the left side. That's going to be the speed rusher. And for the Titans, it was Arden Key. On the right side, that can be more your power rusher, the guy who's just trying to keep the quarterback. Most guys are righties. They want to run to their right. You got to keep them in the pocket. I thought Landry did a really good job of that. Wasn't perfect, but because he's like 245 pounds, he's explosive, he's athletic, he can chase down some of these more mobile guys, and he very rarely will rush without maintaining his integrity. So the way I see it, if the Patriots do go hard after Milton Williams, if they put Keon White inside, they add another interior rusher, I think that fits Harold Landry perfectly, because when you look at his production, a lot of it is just cleanup duty, right? Like I call him he's the trash man. He's going to stop the run on early downs, create the opportunity to rush the passer, and then he's going to be assignment sound and not get out of his gap when quarterbacks try to escape. Because like when you're looking at a lot of his pressures, it's like Jeffrey Simmons is moving the pocket, into the quarterback's lap. So that's what you can get, and we talked about it, right? Where your edge guys, you'd like them to still be good pass rushers, but if you've got great interior rushers, most of their job is not letting the quarterback get free a lot of the time. So again, with Harold Landry, he's still got the best get off at his position in the NFL, like better than TJ Watt's kind of up there in age. It's not a fair comparison exactly, but he's still explosive. He's an elite run defender. He knows how this defense is supposed to be played. He can teach the other guys. I think that's huge. And this is the Titanification of the Patriots roster, as we've seen with Robert Spillane and Harold Landry now, where two core pieces in the front who know how this system operates and can function at a level where, the coaching staff is familiar with them. So Harold Landry is not like an elite pass rusher, even though he's got the bend, he's got a few solid moves. But I think he's going to be an integral part of this defensive front as a guy who just isn't going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. I like it. That's the technical part of it. That's the real on-field aspect of it. I also just like it as the, I'm just reading the chat. Is Twitter down for anybody else? Yes, it is. It is definitely down. We are well aware. But yeah, I like the leadership not even so much leadership as it is familiarity with, what they're going to run, familiarity with, the defensive line or the defensive coordinator now, and Terrell Williams, as well as Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. That's my, again, of the three signings they've made, that is certainly my top one, my favorite one. I think that one made the most sense. I think that one made the most sense all along for guys who would be out there. That's the one I would have been pretty surprised if they didn't land, Harold Landry. So they do that. And now they also have Hooper, and Robert Spillane as well. And so
also Robert Spillane was a captain for the Raiders, and he's played 1,000 snaps the past 2 years. That's significant with Juwan Bentley, where captain, we talked about it, he went down and they basically didn't have a leader anymore. And they really lacked that emotional guy. So now Robert Spillane can kind of slide into that role as more of a Vrabel prototype.
I mean, they clearly had a need at linebacker, no matter what, no matter how you slice it. So to bring him in is solid, and that's who they sort of focused on. We're okay with it. Appreciate the super chat here. Little $9.99 action. Sir Brixton Cole agrees with Taylor. We're seeing the Bears invest in protecting Caleb, and we're signing Spillane. Don't like DK either, by the way.
They're not one to. Never mind. They're not one-to-one signings. Like, you can't compare a linebacker to an offensive lineman. These are very different situations.
Yeah, but I would like to see them invest in the offensive line here at some point. We'll see if that can happen. But so far it's Harold Landry. So far it's Austin Hooper. And so far it is Robert Spillane. 3 years, $37 million. A bit of an overpay, at least according to some out there who have sort of given guesses that, the PFFs of the world. But nonetheless, it's 3 years, 30 for 7 for Robert Spillane. So a little bit more on Godwin. This is according to Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald. Actually, scratch that. No Patriots yet, but Paulson Adebo goes to the Giants. So another one that we had sort of earmarked for the Patriots goes away. He is headed to the Giants on what looks to be no numbers yet, but that's according to Rappaport and Garofalo of NFL Network. Another quote from Schefter, according to Callahan, New England was very interested in Chris Godwin. New England was putting a lot of pressure and making it very difficult for him to go back to Tampa, but in the end, Godwin did not want to leave Tampa Bay. So same thing we've said the last hour here is that it seems like they did make an effort, a true effort to sign Godwin, and he just didn't want to leave Tampa. And you can put that on the Patriots being the Patriots, but you can't necessarily put that on the player or the front office for lack of trying, right? So they at least extended themselves, and Godwin goes back to Tampa. So,
and every time someone brought up Godwin, it was always with the caveat. It was the same thing with Jamie and Sherwood that made me nervous. There was always the caveat of if he hits the market. That's why people were saying that, because clearly there were discussions. We already knew there were discussions happening behind the scenes. I guess we're all just hoping that maybe Godwin would chase the money and hit the market and see what he can get. But I mean, it made all the sense in the world for him to stay. I wasn't surprised, just of course disappointed.
Yeah. From another super chat, Jeremiah, y'all inspire me to do what I love. I want to be like y'all in a few years. Keep rocking, keep with it. You'll get to where you want to be eventually. By the way, Kyle, if you click the link in Schefter's bio, it will sign you up for those reports. The ESPN reports I was talking about. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can get to Schefter's bio right now because Twitter is still down. But nonetheless, we appreciate the super chat and we appreciate you, Jeremiah. Keep grinding. You'll get to where you want to be.
Appreciate you.
How do you make the Pats a more attractive destination? This is a good question. And this is
games.
You do win games. but you need to win games with good players. And that's the issue here is you need to set the foundation we've talked about, similar to Washington, right? Washington is a bit of a destination now because of A, they got the quarterback, B, they set a foundation with some veterans last year. They won football games. They showed that they can win football games, and now players want to go there. They go and get a Deebo Samuel. They, can sign a couple more players now, and it seems like all of a sudden Washington, is on the up and up here. So you need to win football games. You need to set a foundation with players. Hopefully a Robert Spillane can do that for you. An Austin Hooper, a Harold Landry, and then sooner or later you become the destination. But it all starts with winning, and that's why the Patriots were a destination for so long, because they won football games. Nobody really wanted to live or play in Foxborough, Massachusetts, but
people didn't know where this was.
Exactly.
And every time people bring it up, they're like, I didn't even know where it was on the map.
Exactly. And so, long story short, you got to win football games. And right now,
they ain't doing it.
They ain't doing it. So we're going on about an hour here. We may have a relief pitcher coming in a little while. There he is. John, how we doing, my friend?
I'm watching.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to jump in because the chat is angry.
They are angry. And we are very uninspired. We're very uninspired sitting here. Oftentimes, like in our draft coverage, when you hear a guy come off the board and Taylor's throwing fist pumps, they signed Robert Spillane, and the both of us kind of just went, oh, okay. And so
I'm learning in my old age.
Zannis is needed to sort of weather the storm and help us out to kind of parse through this. But
I'm going to let the Coper. I need you to give some feedback because I don't know what the hell I said, but I'm getting it, man. I'm getting shellacked.
I would say this is probably right.
It's
John,
all
channel our negativity. This is funny. This is right. Where I run ahead of the pack, right? But what's
Milton Williams is going to the Carolina Panthers.
No. Are you serious?
Milton Williams to the Carolina Panthers.
And Titans signed Dan Moore. Oh, God. This is bad. This is really bad.
So
this is really bad.
Guys, so here's my thing on all of it.
Dan Moore to the Titans, 4 years, $82 million.
I know. Why is everyone mad at Taylor?
I don't know. Because I said that I didn't think DK was a great fit for the locker room where they are.
What the hell, Taylor? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not mad.
I got a cold chill down my spine. I was like, oh, I'm getting it again.
Are you kidding me? No, look, I do have to echo a little bit of what Taylor said, because I think this is the story. We were in fantasy land for a little bit with some of this stuff, which was, they have all this money and a quarterback and a new coach. And I've always been of the mind, and Taylor's been saying it too, for all of Taylor's, optimism over like players and like what become and how they could be used. And he's always going to look on the bright side for that stuff, which is like, this fits, right? This player can do X. Fine. Landry can't get after the passer, but he can be a great, edge setter and a run defender and all of these things. Like, there's different things there that he's going to find. But Taylor's always been where I am on all of this, is like, I don't know that they're going to be able to get guys to come here. And that's kind of always when I've been stuck. I hate it. I tweeted it a couple times, poo-pooing, just this whole, we knew we were like, I'm sorry if you feel taken advantage of, as fans and viewers out there, as we're telling you like all of the things they could do when we didn't necessarily believe that they would, but the money doesn't always mean that. And there's a lot of reasons still why New England is not an attractive destination for free agents. And we're learning that a really, really, really hard way right now. And it's going to happen. This is how it's going to be. And Mike said it earlier, just when I hopped on, you got to get good. Like if you look at, and like, let me ask you guys, what would you do if you're a free agent stud? Where are you looking? What are you looking for first? In terms of what you're looking to do. If I were a wide receiver, number one, I'd be looking at quarterback. Number two, I'd be looking at city. Maybe number three, looking at money. But if somebody's close to the ballpark, the things that you want, like you're going to go there. Like the Patriots might finish second 10 times, but that's all it takes is one team that's close enough to give them what they want. And if they give it, they're going to go there. And that's what's happening right now.
I'm literally like actively trying to process. But I mean, that's what it was. I didn't even have the high.
What did you think? Did anybody think they were coming out swinging and going to hit a bunch of things? Like, did you think I did not. Maybe I thought one big signing, but like, who that went somewhere right now did you think they were going to get?
Milton Williams.
Milton Williams was the guy where I was like, we got to get him.
Yeah.
So that's
Does this one hurt for you more than Godwin?
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were going to get Godwin.
I thought they had to make. And then underneath that, just because I'm prioritizing the trenches, was Dan Moore. Cam Robinson's not a terrible plan B, but it means you have to draft now some kind of left tackle.
Back in 1 second, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that question, sorry, 1 second. I'm just trying to clean something up on my end. I'm gonna want to wait and see the numbers on Milton Williams with Carolina before I make the decision between him and Godwin, because if they didn't, like, there was no way they were gonna beat Tampa because he took less. So it's not like they skimped out on cash, which I've said 3 or 4 times now on the show. But with Milton Williams, if Carolina just offered a shitload of money to get him and the Patriots missed out on it, that's going to upset me because they do have the money to do so. And he is a good, productive player. He's young. He could really, sit and be in the middle of your defensive line for years to come. So this one's going to bother me over Godwin because Godwin was clearly working to go back to Tampa Bay all along, and it was shown with the money he signed for versus what we think the Patriots were offering.
I don't even care about the money with Milton Williams, to be honest, because I think he was the best player in this free agency class. I don't think it was close. And as we've seen, there's not a lot of places for them to spend the money. So for an up-and-coming player, like, I don't think the money mattered. So I'm hoping we get a report that he just didn't want to come here, because if they got outbid, this is going to usually, I don't get too caught up in that because I understand there's other factors, but I don't see why Milton Williams wouldn't be somebody that they would go after as hard as possible. So again, I will wait to see what the reports are, but this is the one that I really did not want to see.
So I am, I know John is kind of working through some tech stuff on the back end. He is going to come and relieve some duties here as we continue the free agency stream. I have to hop off and get some other work done at the lovely sportsillustrated.com. If the Patriots do make a move, I will certainly be around and hop in and give my take with you and John as things go forward. I'm not sure how long we'll stay on here. We're coming up on just about an hour. But once John comes on, I will hop off. I'll let you two riff for a while, and hopefully the Patriots can make something else happen. But yeah, it's looking like Dan Moore goes to the Titans for $4 and $82, which is 82 divided by 4. We'll do some quick math. Over $20 million a year. It's a lot of cash for one Dan Moore. Would you have paid that, Taylor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they didn't have anybody. I mean, if I heard they liked Dan Moore. So, I mean, if Cam Robinson is the guy, they said, hey, we have familiarity with him and Doug Marrone, like that, I'm fine with. That's what it came down to. But then you have to prioritize adding another tackle as well. Now, I love Ariante Ursary. He's been my plan for their long-term replacement for a while. Obviously, Will Campbell's still in the mix. Armand Membu, who I think has the athleticism to play left tackle. I know people are terrified at the idea of switching positions. I get it, but sometimes it happens and it actually works. You look at Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell, like it's happened for really good athletes. So the left tackle one, like Dan Moore doesn't devastate me because there is still an option. But Milton Williams, now your options are like Tershawn Wharton, who's still good, but he's more of a situational guy, whereas I thought that Milton Williams was somebody who could contribute on every down. Going to look at some more interior defensive linemen to see who's even left on the market. Levi Onwuzurike, he's still a guy to keep our eye on, played under Terrell Williams, had a breakout season last year. BJ Hill went back to the Bengals. Jerron Reed re-signed. Poona Ford could be a name to watch, 310 pounds, a bigger guy. Again, Tershawn Wharton, he is going to be, how old is he? Doesn't even say on here. I think he's going to be 28 years old. Yeah, I mean, Sebastian Joseph Day might make sense. It's a shallow free agency class, and now, as the options fly off the board, you're just seeing it. There's not a whole lot of great plan Bs and Cs.
John, are you good now on your end to grab the baton while I hop off for a little while?
I'm worried because the audio had some issues there, so I'll ask people here who are caught up. Are you still experiencing audio issues? We apologize. I was not in position to jump on this stream, but there's so many of you here talking Pats, and Mike has to go. So I just wanted to jump in here. If it's not working for us, we'll start another one up. a little bit later in the day and track the news as it comes. So how are we doing on audio chat?
Audio sounds fine now, according to the chat, I think. So, someone
Better
said,
now.
and we'll throw this up too. If audio's bad, exit out, come back in, and
I did. I left and came back.
I think it means the viewers though too.
Yeah. So sorry guys for that little glitch. I crashed in because Mike said he had to leave. We did want to keep the stream going. We just hit an hour. There's a ton going on. So I'll bring it back to the top here. And Mike, thank you very much, obviously, for
Carlton
doing this. Go ahead.
Davis. Carlton Davis just signed with the New England Patriots.
All right, reunites with all right, that makes sense. Reunites with Terrell Williams, press corner. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. This is one I can get along with. Carlton Davis, press corner.
I'll let you guys
Actually
rip. I gotta bounce. I'll pop in a little later if things start to go. Thanks, John.
Go get him, Mike.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
But yeah, Carlton Davis had a nice matchup last year against DK Metcalf. They went back and forth. Again, played in a system with Terrell Williams where it signals to me they're going to continue to play a lot of man coverage, which is very good. Detroit played a lot of man. Carlton Davis really is more of a press corner, kind of the perfect veteran opposite Christian Gonzalez. This is the kind of signing I can absolutely get along with. The guy can make plays on the ball. He's competitive. I think he could teach Christian Gonzalez a thing or two. So for that other corner, Carlton Davis is also usually a number one. So this is a deal, again, that I actually do like.
Okay, so that's something, and I again, as not sexy as it is, Taylor, these are the types of things that I think are really where New England's going to have to hit here, because like people don't like. Here's the thing: big ticket items in free agency, and the teams that go big and spend big in free agency, they almost always lose. You're almost always paying for past performance or somebody else's damaged goods. Every once in a while, you get somebody, who's a true blue chip marquee guy, and you'd like to get that person. And sometimes you just need to improve and overpay at certain positions, which the Patriots do need to do, at a few key positions. So you'll kind of swallow a bad signing as long as you get your guy. But realistically, where you're going to really make your bones here and where teams are most successful in free agency is hitting on players like this. Guys who fit a system, guys who are, have a reasonable price tag. We'll see what the Carlton Davis, money is when it comes through here. And bolstering some of the places where you might be able to pick off guys at not premium positions where you're paying, maybe 150% of actual value for somebody that you're not even sure is going to do it for you. So I'm okay there. But again, it's really the reality, the sad reality of a lot of things, Taylor, is how do you address the things that are most important to you, right? Like if you're going into a situation, a draft and free agency with massive holes at a couple of positions, and there's no reasonable way that you can get there, or the one or two guys who could have helped you are gone, what do you do there next? Like, can you punt on left tackle? Can you punt on receiver and roll it back with what you have and whatever it is you're able to address in the draft? Does this put you in a position where you have to draft for need? That's a little scary, like that. You don't want to be stuck there. Where are the Patriots on those particular things? Because whether or not Chris Godwin returns from his dislocated ankle, to be, worth whatever the Patriots were willing to throw at him, and it sounds like it was a lot. What do you do now? Can you just live with what you have, punt it and kick the can down the road, improve everywhere else and come back?
No, you can't punt, because one thing this team desperately did need was veterans on offense. So for left tackle, as you know, I love Vidarian Lowe, but I also understand that his ceiling in the NFL is probably as a spot starter. That's just what it is. I don't think it's a good, and it'd be one thing if they were able to get like a Trey Smith, right? If I knew he had a Pro Bowl caliber, potentially all pro caliber left guard beside him, I'd feel a little bit better if he's the worst guy on the offensive line and the rest is solid. But it might be Layden Robinson, even if it's someone like Patrick McCarry. Like, I don't feel great about it. I think he's a solid player, but again, that's a left side that I'm not feeling very comfortable with. So Cam Robinson, I think, is at least that 1 year stopgap of, okay, it's a guy that you have experience with, like we're seeing with all of these signings. He's a veteran. He's not the athlete he was. He's going to give up pressure. But when I actually look at his sacks, a ton of them had more to do with like the quarterback and the situation around him. So You need a veteran at left tackle, and I think left guard as well, ideally right tackle as well. I would love all those spots without proven starters to get somebody in that vein. And wide receiver, you got to sign a veteran like a Darius Slayton who can come in there and show guys how it's done the way Slayton did for Malik Neighbors in New York. You cannot roll with the exact same group. Now, I also think if those are your additions at left tackle and wide receiver, you probably have to address it again in the draft, specifically those roles, so you have some more long-term depth. But yeah, I don't think you can run it back for sure. This is a team that very much does have needs on offense. You need some adults in some of these rooms.
So 3 for 60, it looks like, for Carlton Davis. How can you live with that?
Yeah,
you know, and again, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going by a couple of draft guides here, guides. PFF had him as their number 25 overall free agent available here. That, as far as the Patriots are concerned, they had Spillane at 88 for what it's worth. But again, that's just one publication. But the projected salary here being at about a 14 million average, it looks like a 20-year average. And again, who knows what this deal actually is when you break it down to guarantees and X, Y, and Z. But this is what shit costs, and to get yourself a solid number 2 corner has to feel pretty decent right now. So again,
he was Detroit's one last year too, and that was a good defense.
I've always believed that the path for the Patriots this year, sadly, is see what you can to build as good a defense as possible, and hope for year 2 improvements or utilizing some of the current weapons that you have. If I say Polk, is everyone going to get mad?
No,
people are mad about Polk, but
I think people are warming up to the idea he can get better because of the Steve Smith video.
You're hoping that it's not a bust. You're hoping that you get Demario Douglas, who has great metrics and is really a person who's, who people outside the organization gush over. You can unlock something there. You maybe address something, in the draft, depending on where you go, if you trade down or on day 2 or something like that. But you're going to have to live with you're hoping you can get your overall offensive line tailored. To me, if they can get their overall offensive line to somewhere middle of the pack instead of the worst bottom 5, if you're somewhere in the 14 to 18 range overall ranking with your offensive line, even if you don't have a left tackle you feel great about, but you can shore up holes everywhere else, you can live through next year. Can you have a commanders like ascent into the playoffs? You'll probably need some luck there. But if you're looking at it as a 2 to 3 year plan, I don't know that you could have gotten everything that you needed to fix the offense in total. So I think defense is probably the place where you can make more impact signings, and that looks like what they're doing right now. And I know me 2 years ago wouldn't have said that. It'd be like, doesn't matter, get offense at all costs. I just don't think it's realistic here, looking at what's available and looking at their overall kind of position.
Yeah, and that was the entire goal. I don't think that they ever had the options to become this juggernaut offense through free agency. It was always going to be to just try to raise the level so that you're at least respectable, and defense was really the only place where it felt like you could really get some heavy lifting done. And we'll continue to see, like, there are a couple of defensive linemen like Dio Odeingbo. I hope I said that right. But he's a guy who kind of fits their scheme. Again, the defensive tackles, their options, even though they still aren't good. So, I mean, they're going to have to be a build through the draft team. And they have to do it like how when teams rebuild and people are like, oh, they did it the right way. That's going to have to be the Patriots, and they don't really have a choice. Like, even if they wanted to throw a bag at, somebody, it sounds like that's not really on the table for him anyway. So we'll continue to see. And I always think it's important to look at this as a full picture and understand what all these signings mean together. Like, if we had just gotten Robert Spillane, I would feel pretty bummed out. But at least 3 defensive signings in, you see they want to go with guys they know, who have a history of experience in the league, whether it's the kind of success that people were hoping for, that is what it is. But it's free agency, man. Beggars can't be choosers, and unfortunately, beggars don't get a whole lot of attention during this.
I know we're not saying anything that is not known to people out there, but there's always that hope, and that's what kind of the last few weeks has been building up to it. But we're not saying anything revolutionary here in terms of, like, free agency is a loser's game. The people who get to free agency got there for a reason, and that's because their teams didn't think they were worth signing or franchise tagging or trading to get proper value out of them. So you're oftentimes paying, you're overpaying anyway. It's the fact that you got to this point that is the problem. So don't be mad at what's happening now. Be mad at everything that happened before that, because they're in a difficult position. I'm not making excuses, but I think Wolf got killed last year. And I think they tried. I think they tried to get the crappy Band-Aid tackles that you would have wanted, your Tyron Smiths or whatever, and they said no. I think they threw money at Ayuk during the season. They tried to throw money at other people. They just didn't want to be here. That's a reality you just got to kind of live with. So you have to sadly do it organically. And it is a multi-year rebuild. The concern is that you lost a year of it by not drafting correctly last year. So I guess
or developing the talent, even if it's
or developing the talent.
You didn't do anything with the guys you had.
So I'll be Taylor. Yeah, I'll be Taylor and put the Sunny thing on it here. The way this works is if last year's draft was better than you thought it was, and you're developing talent that you didn't think you necessarily had in the pipeline. If there are 2 starting guards or a right tackle and a guard out of that group last year, or who you've taken in the last 2 years, and the receivers can get themselves to at least serviceable 2s and 3s across the board, you're not as bad as you're not in as bad a shape as you thought. But if that was a black hole and you whiffed on everything, you're in a tough spot. You're basically great. You got the quarterback, but you're in year 1, but you're looking at best year 4 of his rookie deal before you're able to amass enough talent organically to be able to compete here. It's just the reality of it. So I do think they're going to fix all of their problems here. I don't know how many people believe that. It's definitely a little optimistic, and naive.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You were kind of cutting out for me. I'll be honest, boss. I'm sorry. I didn't want to stop your train of thought, but I didn't really catch a lot of the end of that. Can you help me out? I'm sorry. I'm drowning. I'm trying to write. I'm trying to update the free agency tracker too.
No. All I was saying is, at best case scenario, last year's draft was a little bit better than you thought, and that you're not a full year behind on your rebuild. Otherwise, you are going to have to look a couple years down the road before they can really get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of these players, man, like if Layden works out, if Caden works out, and I've been saying this, if even one of your receivers and one of your offensive linemen pans out, I think that's huge, because then this year you maybe reinforce a couple of the other positions where you're not as strong, and then this offense really starts to round out. Obviously, if you take a step forward as a team, then you're looking at a 2026 offseason. God, I hate that we already have to look that far ahead. We're looking at a 2026 offseason where maybe you're taking more seriously. Maybe even before the trade deadline, somebody shakes loose. And if you get off to a strong start, then you're a team where someone's like, okay, this Drake May guy really is playing well. Let me join these guys and put them over the top this season. Now, that's asking a lot, like early on, because you're going to have a really strong start to the season. But again, like, you have the good leadership. Even though I dislike they didn't make certain moves, I don't dislike anything they've done. So he said they see my cat. I didn't even know my cat was here. Should I pick her up? Oh, they're both here. Both my cats are here. ADHD Kyle's there. But anyway, where was I going with that? But yeah, if those guys can develop, and then you don't have quite as many glaring holes, because this year you can fill as many as you want. But if those guys don't take second-year jumps, you're kind of screwed. So you're hoping that happens, just because, again, free agency's barren. You're going to need more help, and it can't just come from the draft class. You're going to need guys to step up.
I would tend to agree there, Taylor. I got to pop out 1 second. Taylor, you riff on whatever's on your mind. I'm switching out. I think I got a way to fix some of my connection issues. I do apologize, everybody. Again, not in my normal studio space, and I'm trying to improvise here. So, Taylor, you do your thing.
Actually, can we maybe take a quick break? I can update the tracker, kind of reset things a little bit.
No, cannot. We got 1,600 people in here. We're staying on this stream. We're hanging here. You do.
All right, you go away then. You go away. Somebody,
I got the boss here. Just give me a minute. You guys ask.
Riff with me.
Ask Taylor questions for a couple of minutes, guys. We'll be right.
Yeah, I'll grab a cat if I can, guys. Oh, damn, they ran away. They knew I was onto them. All right, help me out, everybody. Come on, chat. Let's see. New free agent targets. All right, so let's do that. Let's go through the free agent rankings. Well, I was trying to do everything at once. All right, so I'll throw this up on the screen for y'all. I'm not drowning. I'm actually a very good swimmer. Turn up the mic. I'm sorry, y'all. I've been turning up the mic all day. So if it's too low, just let me know in the chat. I will continue to work on that. So let's put this up on the screen. All right, y'all. Let's look at who's left. T. Higgins, gone. Trey Smith, gone. Javon Holland, still on the roster. That one's pretty interesting. He did have a down season, as you can see from the numbers, in 2024. Not nearly as many high-impact plays as you'd like to see from him. Also gave up more plays than you'd like to see. So I'll be curious to see what happens with him, but as I've said on other shows, I'm just not really sure how much interest the Patriots will have in Javon Holland because of the fact that they already have Kyle Duggar, they have Jabril Peppers, both guys who could thrive in this defensive scheme as long as they're healthy. And Peppers continues to play at the level he has because he's been a fantastic player for New England. Chris Godwin, gone. Khalil Mack, gone. DJ Reed, he's probably out of there because Carlton Davis is an outside corner. DJ Reed doesn't spend a whole lot of time in the slot. So I would guess that either Jonathan Jones is still on the market. Either they bring back Jonathan Jones as their slot guy, because I don't think they stick with Marcus Jones. He falls pretty significantly under the size threshold that Mike Vrabel typically goes for in his cornerbacks. But DJ Reed probably not on their radar anymore. Amari Cooper wasn't on their radar, according to Doug Kyde and Andrew Callahan anyway. Ronnie Stanley, back to Baltimore. Sam Darnold, now for the Patriots. Josh Sweat, a guy they apparently are not interested in. Stephon Diggs is available. Also was reported they won't be in on him, but I do wonder how things could potentially shake out. Hassan Reddick is now with the Buccaneers. Travis Ward probably out for the Patriots as well. Look at some other names. Cam Bynum, again, safety, very good player. Milton's still available. Which Milton? Did something happen? Oh, Milton Williams still not finalized? Oh, did something happen? Let me check it out, y'all. 1 sec. All right, let's look at the chat. All right, Milton Williams. Let's see if we can find some news. If anybody's got a link. Oh, wow, not finalized. Let's go. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to find the latest tweets. Blue Sky hits very differently, y'all. I can't even get to Twitter. Everything says he's headed to Carolina. Where is everybody seeing that is? Oh, it's Schefter. We need Schefter on this damn app. Where is he?
You think they called up and said before he signed it?
Okay, it's alive. Let's see. All right. Is Twitter like fully back or what's going on? Williams.
Taylor?
Yeah.
Hi, I just want to make sure you can hear me again.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The sound of me carrying was a little too loud. I couldn't hear you. It's okay. I still don't see the... Oh, here it is. Okay. While Twitter was down, hell, it still might be. Panthers agreed to terms. Oh, that's not it. Damn it. Where's the... Oh, hold the phone.
It's Diana Rossini. Can you... If you stop, I will help you.
Okay, thank
you. You might be doing too many things. The first one was Diana Rossini.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So Diana Rossini said not there, and it's been backed up now that it's not official. He still might, but there are other options, which means 11th hour, some really needy team that struck out left and right on free agents and is desperate to sign somebody up their offer by a significant amount of money. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I'm going with, Taylor. I wonder if the Patriots came flying through that door.
Can you kind of 1 sec so I can catch myself up a little bit?
Taylor, I'm going to say this outright rather than put it in the chat. Do nothing but the stream right now.
Okay.
Okay. The tracker can wait. We're on this show and that's it.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand. I just want to know what news is going on also.
Yeah. You can keep up with the news, but don't worry about the CLNS site. We'll update that in a little bit there. While you catch yourself up, I'll let people know a couple of different things here. Obviously, you support the show with super chats. We love that. And that's great. And, it all goes to Taylor's, cat food and fancy sets. If everybody see how shiny that set is, that's terrific. But also Patriots Press Pass is offering premium memberships with bonus content. And I'll tell you right now, everybody the Patriots sign, Taylor's going to do a deep dive and tell you the pros and the cons and what he likes and what he might not like and how it fits scheme-wise with what the Patriots are going to be doing in 2025. So all of these guys that we've talked about here, we're going to have some film reviews up over the course of the next few days or the next week that kind of walks you through, hey, how is this going to work here? What's this guy got left in the tank? What might the Patriots be able to tap into? And you can sign up If you have the All-Pro membership or GOAT membership, that's great. Very, very easy to do. All you have to do is go to join, and it's going to give you the member options. So make sure that you check that out. If you are interested in Patriots premium content, this is the place to be, as Taylor is going to do what he loves to do best, and that is not pay attention to me, but that's second only to that is film review, and he's going to get deep into some of these guys here and get involved. What have you learned in this little filibuster break that I've given you, Taylor?
The Milton Williams dream is actually still alive. I really just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anything else from when I was on. So, I mean, if you add him to the defense, I'm feeling a whole lot better about this, to be honest, because still, I just don't think there's anybody close to him in this defensive tackle class, because then you got, all right, there's your injection of youth and electricity, because I like Carlton Davis. Robert Spillane, I didn't love for my brief watch yesterday, but like everything I'm hearing now, I have people DMing me saying I'm going to love him, so hopefully a deeper dive will prove me wrong. But like Milton Williams was a guy that I really would have liked as a complimentary piece to Harold Landry, because I think that he is going to rely a lot on the guys around him and be a very good complimentary piece, but not the guy. So if it happens, you know, maybe we're cooking with something, but I guess we will see. Oh man, I hope they get this done. I really hope that this is one of those where like, yeah, no, we're going to throw an extra $3 million on whatever we were offering you. So we'll see.
Who's your next?
Patriots,
who's your next best of it?
Patriots signed Morgan Moses. This is one I was hoping for.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay.
They could get in trouble for that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So now all of a sudden you're feeling a little better. This turns into, how quickly does this turn into an F- day one of free agency to an A+ if the Milton Williams thing flips as well? After getting Moses, after getting Carlton Davis, a depth piece at linebacker, that's fine. Whatever you think of Harold Landry, that changes things here. Morgan Moses changes things, don't you think?
I think so, for sure, because this is at least a veteran in the room that they really, really needed. So, I mean, I know that he's not a perfect guy. Like, he's not going to play maybe every single game because he's up there in age, but this is the bridge that you needed for a Caden Wallace, where you don't have to necessarily rely on him, but he's going to be a guy who boosts your offensive line. He's a veteran, really good run blocker. Him next to Mike and One is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And he was one of the better pass protecting right tackles last season. So I'm really, I want to say really excited. I don't want to hype it up too much, but it's, again, an adult in the room at offensive tackle that you didn't have. Also, you take him away from the Jets who wanted to retain him. So I'm a really big fan of this one.
Do you think that they just, because you just had the news the other day that the Caden Wallace left tackle experiment is over, Taylor, and that they're going to try him at right. Morgan Moses is a right tackle. He has filled in on the left side. Out of desperation, do you think that this is something they're going to try to say, I know this isn't your spot, bro, but we need to move you?
I hope not. I don't need you moving 30. How old is Morgan Moses right now?
34, I believe.
Moses' age. Yeah, 34. Do not put that man on the left side. I don't think that switching sides is always the worst thing in the world if the guy can do it. I think asking a 34-year-old to play the opposite side would be ridiculous. I don't think they're going to ask him to do that.
So realign your line right now.
I'm sorry. What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Give me your starting offensive line today.
Oh, okay. I thought you
adding Morgan Moses.
like the season. My bad. So Cam Robinson, I guess, and Morgan Moses as your bookends is probably your best case scenario right now. Again, two guys who have experience in the league, have been starters. No, they're not ideal, but at least you give yourself some breathing room and you don't have to rely on rookies or guys who've been career backups. That's really my big takeaway. Then it's center is still a question mark because you don't know who's going to play. And then at left guard, maybe a Patrick McCarry I'd really like, again, kind of as that same type of idea for Layden Robinson on the left side.
And you're fine with that?
I mean, it's free agency. That's what they can do right now. Now, I mean, they also have the players. I think left tackle should be addressed in the draft, but right tackle and left guard, you have guys that could develop. The reports say that the teams like them, so I think that at least you give it another year and see what they can do with it.
Very good. So where as you're scrolling through your free agency tracker sort of universe, where's your mind at right now?
As I'm scrolling, I am thinking I really want Milton Williams. Really want Milton Williams. I like Darius Slay. Let's see. Darius Slay, Milton Williams. Let me go back to my actual tracker. I was going off memory. Byron Murphy, I wouldn't mind in the slot if they really want to get aggressive and spend some of this money. Malcolm Kuntz is an interesting edge option. Let's see who else is available. What do you think of that big brain of yours?
Like I said, I'd put all of my hope. I'd not say all of my hopes. I wanted the Moses thing because I thought that was going to be the most reasonable way to address the line without breaking the bank and paying for a bigger name who is bad. And we saw the other left tackle options are people you've heard of, but who've had recently performed very poorly. And I did not want to throw the bag at someone like that. So I'm actually pretty happy that that's happened. I'm looking over the receiver thing here, and I just don't see what you're going to do here. I'm going to put it out there mainly because you've liked this person. I don't know what it is that you do like about this person, but if Darius Slayton is the only addition at receiver that they make here, does that make you happy? Because I think that's a name that's still out there.
I mean, you have Kendrick Bourne, Darius Slayton, and Pop. Obviously, it's not ideal, but like that's a pretty Pop is a good slot receiver. We already know that. Kendrick Bourne had his best season, I think, with Josh McDaniel. So hopefully them being back together gets him on track and he can bounce back. Also, second year removed from his ACL tear. That's going to be pretty big. And then Darius Slayton is your ex. You hope that Jalen Polk and Javon Baker develops. I don't hate that group. I'd like you to maybe add another ex. Like a Jaden Higgins, a Ted, or somebody like that. But I wouldn't mind that just because, again, you don't really have a lot of options.
You don't, which kind of goes back to, again, it's early, but I'll ask you now, if this is the meat of it, right? There isn't a Milton Williams here, and you're turning your attention entirely to trades or the draft. Where are you looking next? Because again, trades for certain receivers, or there's always has Cup been released yet, or they're still holding out hope?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. I assume Cup gets released, and I assume they don't trade him. So that's somebody that's still kind of on the receiver table of things here. But assuming this is the best of what you get, the four signings that they've made here, where do you think that puts their focus on the draft?
I mean, we still have a long way to go. I really don't know.
We do. But I mean, really, it's all a trickle down off that 4 pick, right? Because you're either taking best available, and if that ends up being Carter or Hunter, I think that's addressing an area of need. Also, I mean, if you are drafting Travis Hunter now, are you drafting him primarily as a receiver? It is really interesting not knowing what teams would do in that situation. But, you just got yourself another corner. It does change the Travis Hunter conversation. It does change the Travis Hunter to Patriots conversation. I think the most people think it's an 80-20 split corner with maybe 15 to 20 plays designed on the receiver side of things. I do wonder whether the Patriots would draft him primarily to be a receiver and say that's what we need and that's what we want. It's possible. Are you still looking to address the defense when most of your signings here have been on the defensive side of the ball with a Carter type player, maybe? Or are you in trade down range and see if you can amass assets and try to plug a few holes here where you're drafting, a receiver with that first pick and then maybe going and grabbing whatever tackle is available to bolster that offensive line later? How do you see, what's happened so far in the draft affecting at least that top pick scenario?
Well, if it's Travis Hunter, I guess now you kind of narrow the chance of him ended up staying at cornerback the way that he primarily played. He did play receiver, but his role in terms of preparation was mostly at corner. Now, if you have Carlton Davis, I think he can moonlight there. I think an interesting thing would maybe be to do like a Jalen Ramsey kind of situation with Christian Gonzalez if you wanted to keep him at corner, and maybe in some situations have him in the slot where he can blitz. He's plenty athletic enough to cover anybody in the slot. We've seen he's comfortable there. So I think if you did end up getting Travis Hunter, you don't move off the pick, and I think you keep him at receiver regardless of what happens in free agency. There's no one in this free agent class who holds a candle to Travis Hunter. Outside of that, I've been team trade down, and I'm not moving off that. I think they need to get as many picks as they possibly can. When it comes to receiver, I'm fine with 10 in the first round, especially after a trade down. I'm not a huge Emeka Ibuka fan relative to the Patriots. I like Luther Burden, but again, this is a team that has so many guys who fit that X mold. Although he's a much better yak threat than any of them, I'd like somebody who plays more outside like a Jaden Higgins. So like Higgins, Ariante Ursary, Anthony Belton, Holland Pierce are two big guys I like that have experience at left tackle. So it doesn't really affect how I prioritize one position or another. I think if anything, it's really just Travis Hunter, since they still have a hole at wide receiver, they still have a hole at left tackle, and that's going to be the case no matter who they sign. So wait,
I want to know what this comment means. Diana Rossini dropped a hint. So I want to put this out here. So this is what people are talking about. I'm going to put this up because this is interesting. Hold on one second. Do people like getting excited? Do you want to get your hopes up? Do people want to get their hopes up? I'm putting it up right now. Okay. Here's what people are getting excited about in this thing. Okay. Let me see if we can get it up there. It's not just that Diana Rossini dropped the hint. It's what it was. So this is what it was. The info about other teams being interested. This is who she chose to respond to, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't seem like an accident. There's a lot of people out there who might have been talking about Milton Williams. Andrew Callahan tweeting that funny scene from Holy Grail. I'm not dead yet.
What that was from? I knew it was some old movie.
Yeah, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But anyway, Patriots' hopes of landing Milton Williams, not dead yet. Danny Rossini picks this, of all things out there, to quote tweet her piece of information. Other teams are in the mix. This can't be unintentional.
I'm getting I don't know why I'm getting the feeling like when I got in trouble as a kid, but it's for excitement. I don't know why that's the feeling I'm getting, but it's because I'm excited that this might happen. So the Panthers are still in on it.
So
I'm just refreshing to see if there's anything from a news reporter saying it's going to happen.
I don't know how you could not see this as meaning something. Am I crazy?
No, I mean, I think it means that the Patriots are one of the teams that was Also, we need to remember one thing. No one is signing a contract today. It is the negotiating period. Literally, anything the Patriots have announced today could flip by Wednesday. So understand, this is a 2-day period where they're negotiating. They agree to terms. But if someone calls at the 11th hour and says, I'll, sweeten the pot, this is just the first time it's happened every single year. And it's become more common, I feel like, recently. I remember when I was at Next Gen 4 years ago, it happened. And we were like, oh, this isn't very common. And it's happened every offseason.
But it is. But it isn't. It's not impossible. It's not common practice. Usually when these deals are agreed upon, they're agreed upon. And you usually don't get people jumping in over the top and being like, wait, that's what you got? I'll pay you this much more. You don't see that often. But what you might see is maybe jumping the gun on reporting a little bit, which I think might be more likely in this Milton Williams scenario, which is it was at the finish line, but didn't get there. And that, as you said, calls came in really late. And they might have been, yeah. We love this. Let me get back to you. This sounds good. We're yours. And then, holy crap, Milton, I know you didn't necessarily want to do this, but Patriots just came in 20 million over this. We got to have this conversation, right? And again, I said it semi-jokingly, Taylor, but I do wonder, after missing on maybe a Godwin, after being that far over, whether the Patriots went back to if they had two priorities, 1A, 1B, this would be one, Godwin would be the other. And that's how I'm reading their free agency right now. That after missing on Godwin, they said, we're not missing here. I do not give up what it takes. Call and make it happen. That's my vibe. I mean, who knows where it's going here? I do think it's curious. And yeah, we're trying to read tea leaves on a situation here without fully knowing what's going on. That would be super interesting. So, I don't want to say we're going to stay here until it happens or doesn't happen, but I also am afraid to hang up the phone right now. Aren't you? I feel like this.
I'm a little bit, yeah. I'm nervous. Also, I will say this about the overall strategy they have. For the people who are like, I want to be the Commanders, I want that style of rebuild, that's what we're getting so far. All of these players
Right.
had some kind of Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying something. But all these players had some ties to the current coaching staff. That's what happened last year, where everyone's like, oh, why didn't the Patriots sign all these guys in the Commanders? Look what they're doing with them. Well, those are guys they had coached before, where they're bringing them in and saying, you know the standard, you're going to set it. I know what I'm going to get out of you, versus, going into a team where you don't really know a lot of people. So long way to go, but these are signings I think were necessary. Like Spillane,
Yeah.
I'll find it. I had a text somewhere where last night I literally was saying that like Spillane is probably the best they can do, because Jack Gibbons was the only other Vrabel style linebacker, and he was a restricted or exclusive rights free agent, and he was tendered. So
Yeah, and again,
these signings were very predictable, but also things that you were hoping they would do.
And so that's the good and the bad, right? The bad for last year, for sure, Taylor, was that I don't think they fully, again, this is the downside of having one person run every aspect of your organization forever, and not really understand how things work. And I think something the Kraft's probably missed out on is, well, crap, rookie head coach without a network to expand not only his coaching staff, but to be able to recruit players. Is that going to be a problem? Because people do like familiarity. You talk about the hierarchy of reasons where you go somewhere in there is comfort, familiarity, and knowing that you're going to have a coach who's going to put you in a position to succeed, who values you, who wants to play with you, who connects with you on a human level, who you can talk to and be like, yeah, I do like this fit. And that's kind of where they are across the board here in terms of who they brought in. You have connections everywhere. The bad part is people only hire people they've ever worked with or have played for them before. And sometimes that goes in the wrong direction. But when you're the Patriots and you need people, you need that connection. So again, it's well established, but Spillane plays for Josh McDaniels. Harold Landry played for Vrabel. Moses with Todd Downing in New York. Carlton Davis with Terrell Williams in Detroit. That matters. I don't know if you don't have each of those connections that you get any of these guys, right? Like, it's very possible you're whiffing everywhere. So this, when you don't have the city, the climate, the winning tradition, the facilities, a plane without ashtrays and proper Wi-Fi, if you don't have the things that are going to lure people there and it's just money, sometimes it's not enough to put you over the top. Like, this might be the only reason that you're able to get people right now is some level of comfort and familiarity with the current staff.
Yeah, I mean, last year we knew that a lot of people didn't really take them that seriously, and the familiarity was a huge part of that. Where Giardi didn't have most of the ties that he had were guys that ended up coming to the coaching staff. It wasn't really players necessarily, and the guys that did come to the Patriots that they signed were mostly Elliott Wolf or Alex Van Pelt guys. So those connections do mean something. Money obviously is one thing, but players also want to know that they are going to have an opportunity to have success and have some structure they can fall back on. So when you're a rebuilding team, Mike Vrabel helps a lot, but he's not the end-all be-all. So it does help that he was able to retain a lot of his staff. Those guys are like, hey, we're trying to build, a bigger, better system here with all of our capital. We have a quarterback. Like, if you played for Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams and Josh McDaniels, Todd Downing, and you like those guys, you can say, okay, now Drake May is appealing because I know you guys can figure this out. If you got the young quarterback, we didn't have that in Tennessee. As much as I like Derrick Henry, he wasn't taking us to the Super Bowl most likely. He never took us to the Super Bowl. Quarterback can do that for you. So, yeah, I mean, those ties are huge. It's a relationship business.
It is a relationship. So who, find it for me? Where is the Milton Williams relationship?
Milton, that would be one of the only, to my knowledge, I don't think they have anybody who's worked on Philly staff. They actually had Bobby King is a linebackers coach who did work for them, who now is on the Eagles, but not the other way around. So, hey, maybe they could hit up Bobby King and be like, hey, what's this Milton Williams kid all about? I don't know if he'd give intel, and he's also not one of his position players, of course. But, he would be a shot in the dark, but also is one of the few players who is young, who is coming off a break-off season and had a history of production just another way, and has the sort of upside that also complements your coaching staff, where you got Terrell Williams, the great defensive line coach. You got guys in Clint McMillan, who has experience coaching defensive line with Terrell Williams. So that's the kind of guy where if you're going to take a chance on someone outside the building, he's the name in flashing lights. Him and I would say Darius Slayton, but Darius Slayton has some overlap with Ryan Cowden as well.
Yeah, so that's that. So again, I've been on with you about 45 minutes. Where's your mood? How's your mood shift? This was a scary, dark place when I jumped on. Like, bad, Taylor. I don't like seeing you like that. Where are you now?
No, it's just been an emotional roller coaster because I mean, usually I'd probably be more patient if I was just sat up myself, but I feel bad for all the people in the chat who want more and are getting annoyed. Hopefully there's been enough to tide everybody over. I feel they got their tackle. I really wanted Morgan Moses. That makes me feel better. The only free agent they definitively missed out on, Chris Godwin signed, was that right before? Because he never actually hit the market. So the only free agent they really missed on was Milton Williams, and he's back on the market. So honestly, that was really bummed me out. That was where I went from okay, this is kind of boring to oh shit. That was the guy. So yeah, I feel better. If they signed Milton Williams, I think this was a legitimately good day for them because I think they've so far done about as much as you could expect them to, relative to who's gone off the board. Dan Moore is maybe the only player that I would have liked to see them sign somewhere else. But if they get Cam Robinson, it's a wash for me.
Yeah. And as far as the Godwin thing is concerned, and for those people on the stream, thank you guys for hanging with us. Thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties and the awkward baton, handoff from Mike to me. And, Taylor's working his ass off trying to keep an eye on everything there. And he's been going for a couple of hours right now. And he hasn't eaten. He didn't eat anything. He's grabbing his cats. I thought he was going to start gnawing on a leg there, but we are going to get,
she's so cute. I just want to eat her up.
She is.
She's gone.
Taylor, can I tell you something?
Huh.
I'm a cat guy.
I used to hate cats because, so this is a fun story. So when I was 5, my godmother adopted a stray cat. My godbrother found it. They got really close, but it was from the streets of Chicago. It's a very territorial cat. Anytime I made eye contact with it, for more than a second, it would chase me around the house. I used to run and lock myself in the room. One day I was like, you know what? What am I scared of this cat for? What's it going to do? That cat messed me up. It literally just scratched me all up. So I hated cats for years. My mom also told me that she had a cat when I was born and it tried to kill me and she had to give it away. So wasn't a fan of cats, but Liz has a couple at her house. They're pretty cool. I was like, all right, I'll adopt one. The rest is history, man. Cats all the way. I love them.
I love them too. And what I like, it looks like Lions Sweat is going on here. Lions Josh Sweat, but we'll see. One of the things I like is they make you work for it, as opposed to dogs who are just they give it out to anybody. You get a cat to like you, you've done something good. We are going to have a
cat too. I respect them wanting their space because I want my space sometimes. So
I'm with you too. We have a special guest jumping on the stream in a little bit to kind of give us a break and give us some fresh perspective. I'm not going to tell you. But wait for it and deliver some good insight. One of our friends over here at CLNS Media is going to jump in and help kind of carry things for us for a little bit. As I guess we're on Milton Williams' watch here, but also I'm curious their perspective on, where the Pats are at and some good inside info. Very plugged in reporter here on the beat. So stay tuned. Do I tell people? I don't want to tell people. It's the same way I don't want to tell my kids such and such is coming over. You're going to have a play until it's 100% confirmed. So when I see their face in here, I'll let you know who's coming here.
Let them guess. That's the imagination. Let the imaginations run wild.
Who would you guys want?
I know who I would want. He may be a bit of a grumpy goose. But hey, he's handsome. That makes up.
He's handsome as hell, right? And I like it personally. I like a guy maybe with a little bit of gray, but it's dignified. Okay, it's not something that's going to affect everything. And it's Mike Giardi. That's what I wanted.
Grumpy me? Come on.
Literally, I tweeted him the little 22 Jump Street where Channing Tatum's dancing on the sunny side and Jonah Hill is in the nightmare little thing.
Good times, boys.
So, Mike, I mean, a lot's happened. Let me just ask, I don't know where your head is at in terms of the arc of how things went down here from, the Godwin signing to, turning down what appears to be $20 million less from another team with the assumption being strongly that was the Patriots. But how do you think things have gone in Foxborough right now in terms of what they wanted and where they are? Because again, the last half hour or so, you've picked up a couple of impact players that are going to make your team better. Maybe it wasn't some of the names that people were attached to yet. And now you've got this Milton Williams drama, which has kind of made things interesting. So I do wonder, what do you hear? What do you say?
Well, it's interesting because I think, going into this, we sort of had identified, and this is coming from team sources, that Godwin was at the top of the list, as was Milton Williams. Jamie Sherwood was another name who ends up signing with the Jets yesterday, and they immediately pivot to Robert Spillane to get that deal done today. Spillane, by the way, I think he's a terrific football player. He's 29, sort of kind of operated under the radar, but another signal too, by the way, that they're going in a different direction defensively. He played at about 225 last year. He's listed at 229. This is going to be an attacking, faster defense. I start to wonder now what happens with Bentley and Tavai, just kind of looking forward. But to your point, I think they knew. I don't even think they knew. I know that they knew that this wasn't going to be as easy as everyone wanted it to be. And you can say you have $127 million of cap room to spend, but this team is not highly regarded right now around the league. 2 straight 4-13 seasons, 8-9 before that. A lot of, I think, players look at them and say, okay, maybe Belichick had lost the fastball a little bit, but sort of had it had started to decline anyways. And then Tom Brady got run out the building. So what have they been since then? And what they've been since then is, well, especially recently, a non-competitive football team. So it's almost like they know that they're a year away from being a year away sort of thing this year, so that, yeah, we're going to try our best and we'll put more money on the table, but it's not going to be as easy as that. And you saw like Godwin, and I think, and this was their fear all along, was that Godwin would never set foot outside of Tampa, that the pull to stay there with Mike Evans, with Baker Mayfield, it works there. He likes Todd Bowles. Like, okay, you can offer more money, no state taxes down there, which again, doesn't make up a difference of $20 million, but it's a comfort factor too. So I think they kind of knew. Ronnie Stanley obviously gets scooped up yesterday, so that thing was done. The outrageous overpay for Dan Moore by the Tennessee Titans, $82 million. Like, I mean, he might be like the 23rd or 24th best left tackle in football, which again, it's better than what you have, but
right, which is really like the 40th.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I don't know if they were involved on him or not. I mean, we sort of who's the next guy down the line. I think Jalen Moore was sort of an intriguing guy with not a lot of tape. Has been a backup for 4 years. Started a handful of games for San Fran this year for Trent Williams, and he ends up going to Kansas City for 2-30. Right, so I just felt like all along the big dreams that everybody has. And they were yelling at me on early edition last week because they're like, you don't like anybody. I'm like, no, it's not that I don't like anybody. I don't think they're going to get them. It's just, this is the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'll give you another one, John, and I reported this last night, and it's taken the world a long time, and some people still haven't acknowledged it. So let me just, as a little gripe there from me. But like the DK Metcalf thing, as soon as DK Metcalf became available, everybody, and Taylor knows, it's like it's jumping to your mentions. Like, you got to get this. And sports radio is going bananas. Like, do this. Between knowing that it was going to be hard to get some of the top of the market guys, they don't feel like their roster is a place where they can give up significant draft capital. And I know the argument, and I'm seeing it all over my timeline. Well, look what they did in the draft last year. Hey, I get it. The draft was not good. They're going to have to salvage some guys in that class if that's even possible. However, Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, Stretch, they're all involved now. So the group that was doing it last year is not the same group that's doing it this year. There are some of the same pieces, but it's not entirely the same thing. They're going to be looking for a different kind of player than they have been in the past as well. So I can't get them in trouble for something they haven't done yet. You hear that all the time on the radio, right? Like, I can't get mad at them for this year's draft based on last year's draft. Do I have great confidence in it? No, but hasn't happened yet. So I think they looked at it and said, we can't, had it been a third or a fourth, I think that'd have been something that would have led to more conversations, because I think they were perfectly comfortable with the idea of paying him, and this is what I reported.
The money is fine.
I think they were fine with giving him $28 to $30 million. I mean, that's the market. They understand that. And I don't think he's that player, but for you, I mean, it would be a massive upgrade. Plus, there's the whole character issue, which, again, people don't want to talk about. You just want the good player. that room was a mess last year. DK Metcalf may help them from a talent perspective. He does not help that room mature because he's not very mature himself. So not an excuse. That's just how they viewed it. That's the facts. And that's what, that's how they go forward here. So like, now I wonder, someone like Ayuk, right? Like, he's available. Is Ayuk for a third? Is Ayuk for a fourth? Like, at 2 years and $50 million, which is essentially what his deal is in terms of guaranteed money. Like, yeah, I understand the knee injury was late October. So at best you're getting him back as the same type of player that he's been before in November, December. He might play before then, but just in terms of, we saw with Kendrick, it takes a while, right? It just takes a while. But like, okay, so then you get this guy in. It's now cheaper than the cost of the top receivers.
It might be a lost year, and it still might be worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, that's sort of now the calculus and maybe where you pivot if you're them. And again, I think they're still sort of wanting to.
And what if he likes it?
Yeah,
like
right.
That's the thing. It's like you might get him on. You'll never get someone of their caliber cheaper. Because not being able to play, and what the money would be, what the money is currently, and then you might be able to get somebody who likes it and wants to stay, and so you're getting these people in the fold, fine. Because if you're probably not doing anything next year. You're looking, sadly, your eyes are further down the road in terms of where you want this team to be. So the Ayuk thing might be the last thing that makes sense here, unless you want to take a stab and hope that, Cooper Kupp or something like that still has a little bit left in the bag.
Yeah,
but there's not a lot of options out there.
Right. I still think they have to investigate that market because you can't be totally certain because, again, you couldn't get Ayuk to come here last year. Like, he wouldn't pick up the phone call from Gerard Mayo. So you're still in that place where you might have to do some serious convincing, but he's got his contract. Hey, come here. We love you. We'll show you the love. Come here, be our guy. We want to build it around you. Whatever you have to tell him to get him to, like, tip his toes in the water. And then, like you said, when he gets here, maybe he loves Drake May. Maybe he loves playing for Josh and Vrabel, et cetera. So, and one of his options last year, he wanted to go to Pittsburgh, right? I'm guessing that's dried up now with the Metcalf trade and signing. So that's sort of how they have to look at it. I think they definitely do have to be still involved in the receiver market, though, whether that's Darius Slayton, who's going to go north of 10 million per, probably. And I'm not totally sure that, again, not totally sure he's that player, but this is what happens in free agency. So don't complain about, that's not worth whatever, man. These are the prices. They get to the open market. Someone's going to overpay. And at some point you go, boy, that contract ended up kind of sucking, right?
Especially teams had missed on their first few targets. All of a sudden, Slayton might have been a $12 to $13 million offer from the Patriots, and now he's $16 million. And it's just, he's not worth it. But it's value over replacement in some of these areas where you have nothing. I don't know if I'm there with receiver there of Slayton being that big of an upgrade over what you currently have. Maybe you could still develop last year's guys, but certainly at tackle, I would have been willing to pay a reasonable premium over what you're getting because the value over replacement is so high. You can't trot out what you had last year.
Yeah, and then that makes you wonder, and they talked about this, and the idea is that you wanted to sign enough players so that you could draft the best player available when you got to the draft, and now you might be in a situation where, okay, we have Jalen Walker or Michael Williams rated slightly higher than Will Campbell or Amon Membu, but we really need a tackle. Or, hey, this is just the grade's close enough. We got to go offense. We got to try to beef up the offensive line some way, shape, or form. The Morgan Moses signing, I don't know why I can't say his name. I like it because much like I would feel about Slayton, and Moses is, the contract is very reasonable, but like he's a pro. Like if I want Caden Wallace to learning from Chuks Okorafor, not ideal. Learning from Morgan Moses, who's done this for a million years, absolutely. And he is a freaking warrior. Now, again, he's 34. He's much closer to the end than the beginning, but he played 14 out of 17 games last year. He had MCL. He had like awful stuff last year. He missed 2 games. It's like they couldn't get over how tough he was and his willingness to come back for a team that, oh, by the way, at that point wasn't competing for anything. But that's just who the guy is. So you had character there. And that's how I feel about Slayton. Like, again, Slayton's not awesome. I'm not trying to sell you that he is awesome, but he's awesome in the room. And he would give you some verticality offensively. I know that's Taylor's guy. Taylor loves him, in terms of what he brings on the field and the ability to stretch and get something going with Drake May. So you combine that with the fact that, oh yeah, he's well respected in the locker room, and you look at that receiver room and you say they need that. They like desperately need that. Like it's, and I said this about Kendrick Bourne. We all love Kendrick Bourne, his energy, his enthusiasm. Kendrick still doesn't know where to line up half the time. Like that. So he's a veteran, and he can be sort of like a, hey, you know, like root those guys on. But like, did you see him? He's the guy who's been in the league for 7 years, and he still doesn't know where he's going. So like, I don't know where I'm going either. And he's playing and I'm not. Like, you know what I mean? That's just, Slayton doesn't have that reputation. So that would be a, you know, again, not ideal, but that would be something that would make sense for where they are right now.
Yeah,
And
Taylor,
Slayton
I'm sure has something to add there. Real quick for the audience, I just want to point out another Jeff Howe tweet. Multiple teams showing interest in the Milton Williams situation here. So it's interesting that like something went awry or it wasn't quite done, and everyone picked up the phone all at once. And this might be a straight up auction at this point. But Taylor, jump on in on. I know you had a lot to follow up on what Mike was saying.
First, Mike, what is your take on this Milton Williams situation? Because we were kind of saying earlier how it feels like over the past like 4 years, it feels more common that we hear a deal announced. And sometimes it's like right before the deadline where like Zadarius Smith, I feel like was one of the first where it became kind of like an annual thing. Not a ton, but now more than ever, it feels like every year you need that asterisk of like, this is negotiating. Nothing's official for another couple days. So what do you think exactly is going on? Because we already knew that Milton Williams is probably going to be the top free agent on the market.
Yeah, my guess is that he got into the talks with Carolina. Agent liked it, he liked it, and then the agent got a phone call and said, you know, call us before. And then they got another one. Hey, call us before. Did you do the deal yet? Did you do the deal yet? You know, like, hey, we were only willing to go to 22. But now we're willing to go to 25, or we were only going to 25, and now we're willing to go to 27 because, like, the panic starts to set in. Like, what's the option below him? Oh crap, we don't want to do that, or we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we have to do something in the draft that we're, you know, earlier than we want to. So that's what I think it is. I think it's true though. Like, and I know the Patriots will certainly are involved, but like, there's other teams. Like this is to John's point. I think this is a straight up like, you're going to get more money than you thought you're going to get, dude. So what do you want to do? Where do you want to go get it from? You know? And then you get down to, all right, well, they're offering 100, they're offering 98. Do you want to play in Houston or do you want to play in New England or what, you know, whatever. I'm just throwing out random teams, but like, that's sort of, I think where we're at with this. We just had this a couple years ago, right? JD McKissick. Yeah. And it's a lower level, but like he's agreed to terms with Buffalo. And then 2 days later, McKissick signing back with the Commanders. You know, what happened? And I remember the Bills were actually pissed off about it, but it's
like letters of intent. You know,
like it's not official until Wednesday. So like, I mean, 98% of this stuff goes down the way it's been reported today. But there is that, as you said, there. It seems like once a year at least we're getting someone who's like, on second thought, let me go someplace else.
And then one thing I was thinking of with the free agents, like when you talk about the Patriots not being an attractive destination, and it's, throw the money at them, right? If that's all they care about. And of course, you have situations like DK Metcalf where like you're going to Pittsburgh, you know, it's not LA, it's not Vegas. But one thing it's kind of been crawling at me is if you come to Massachusetts and you are maybe someone who wants to like be more than just a football player, you're trying to expand your brand. How attractive is New England for those guys? Because like, what are you going to get a Dunkin', like, you know, sponsorship? Like this isn't the kind of place where you're going to get picked up by fashion magazines. Like unless you're Tom Brady or unless you're making like a crazy amount of money and you're one of the best at your positions, it feels like another reason, even if you pay the extra premium, the suck tax, the Massachusetts taxes, what about the money I could be making outside of football, being in a place where, you know, it's not exactly a hub for that kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's even beyond that, right? I think we were talking about this on the live stream we did last week, Taylor, with Kadlick, about like, what's the sell? You're not in Boston. You're not in Providence. You're kind of in no man's land. It's not easy to get into Boston, you know, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever the traffic is, depending on when you're going there, right? Like same thing for Providence. And you got the millionaire's tax. We don't have awesome weather, not that Pittsburgh does or Chicago or whatever, but like, okay, Chicago, for instance, just by compare, stays open. Right. Like you're a young man. Boston rolls it up at 1 o'clock, right? Like, what do Zannis knows this back in his younger days. He was out there. He was always looking for the place to go, right? Like, I can't believe you're closing. I think he led the charge with like the city council. Like, we gotta get the tea to stay open later. We gotta get the bars to stay open later. They didn't
I was ramming my foot in the door to keep it from shutting, trying to get to the place with the latest last call.
Yeah, can we get one last drink before we have to go home? So, like, I think that all plays into it. We were talking, I think, theoretically about T. Higgins, and like, the Chargers have money, and he's just like, you look at it and go, Boston, L.A. Like, oh wait, it's not Boston, it's Foxborough. Oh, but that is L.A. right? And I'm like, right there, and the weather's awesome, and there are a lot of famous people out there, and there's like people. The Instagram models, they're all out there, right? I think that's just where they go. It's just they're naturally drawn there. So, like, it's a harder sell. And now, like I said, you're getting at a point where, because you've sort of been an irrelevant franchise now for multiple years, like, you have to prove to people, oh yeah, we like Drake May, we like Mike Vrabel, but now show me that show me you're more than a 4-win team.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It's like, that ain't easy.
You have to factor all of it. And Taylor and I talked about earlier, it's not just the money. It's not just that, like, oh, you got a QB now. There's so many factors to come in here. I ask people outright. I don't want to insult anybody's home state, but like, we all live here. Mike, you and I grew up here. Okay, I'm comfortable here. There's maybe 3 states I'd be comfortable living in, and you could talk me into 5 or 6. But like, again, I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to insult some great place. But like, let's say, like, if you said, I'm going to pay you twice as much to go do this job, but you have to live in Oklahoma City, or you can stay here with the cost of living is lower, or blah, blah, blah. Or here, I'd be like, I'm staying. Like, you would have to offer me so much more money to uproot to a place I don't want to be, or I don't have roots, or I don't feel comfortable, or I've never been. A lot more. So we're talking about people getting mad because a guy took 2 million less, 3 million less, 5 million. They're friggin' cajillionaires, multimillionaires wherever they go. Like, that's got to matter a little bit. Like, some people will squeeze every last dollar. People get mad at those guys. Then some guy goes where he's happy for 20 million less, and you're like, what's wrong with this loser? So like, it doesn't always work the way you want it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. There's so many different things. Like, if you're Chris Godwin, okay, you have suffered 2 major the ankle injury and a major knee injury, and you've worked with this Tampa training staff, the doctors, you got your family, you got kids, and like, whatever it is, you're I think he's married, wife likes it down there, or his girlfriend, like these all play into it, man. It just does. Like, hey, you're good.
Rappaport just tweet something about Milton Williams. I saw like a flash on my phone.
First off, there's no Twitter anymore. It went down for the 4th time today. Maybe it's back up.
Just a craptastic job. Nice job, Elon.
Did they do it?
Shut up. Don't say things. Do you know anything?
I don't see anything, and I haven't gotten anything on my phone yet.
Oh my!
What happened?
I'm about to black out. I literally almost blacked out.
Don't do it.
Oh my God! I just got so lightheaded.
I don't see it anywhere.
Do you know something?
I saw a rap tweet about it on my phone. I tried to open it and it went away. Did we win?
Twitter is dead.
Twitter is dead, and there's nothing on Blue Sky.
The Patriots swoop in. Wait.
Let's go.
Rappaport
are taking the biggest defender off the market as Eagles DT Milton Williams lands in New England per Ian Rappaport and Mike Garofalo. I still don't. Thank you. That's your boy. Let's go. Now, Look at that 180. Look at that 180. This is how we win, baby. Let's go. All right. Somebody help me. I will take over this chat.
Someone just texted me.
Can we just get I want to get a camera of Taylor's goosebumps right now.
Massive reversal of fortune, baby.
Oh, man. Seriously.
Wow.
That was the signing that got me from I'm bored to I'm sad. Now, this is huge.
That is different, people. And here it is. While we're waiting for it, the tweet. Ta-da! This is crazy. This is quite a story. This is interesting. It's so interesting. It's bringing Mike Kadlick is out of retirement, jumping back in here,
making moves. Look at that. Look at that. fellas.
Oh, breaking news. Oh my goodness.
Now we're talking. Now it's a free agency class. I was just listening
How
into you
did
guys.
this
That Harold
How did
Landry
this
signing looks a
happen?
lot better now, baby.
It sure does. So I heard the Taylor, I heard your question to Giardi about, why do these things happen and why does news leak during the tampering period? And then all of a sudden things hit the fan. And it's exactly to that point where it's clear that maybe they had a deal in place and then somebody Patriots called and said, don't sign that dotted line yet. We're attempting, we can offer more money. And I believe it's coming in at 26 mil per year.
Yep.
If I'm reading things correctly. You got that, Mike?
Yeah.
Mike Kadlick, hold on, because you're the best person to talk to about this. And we're not going to be able to hold on to Mike Giardi for much longer because he's going to have to go do BSJ things, and that's fine. But Mike, when I get tagged in for you here,
Yes.
there was about, we had about, I'd say 1,400 people, and about 1,200 of them were about to kill themselves. Like, that's how bad it was. It was the darkest place I've ever been. I walked in, I was like, I don't want to be here. But Kadlick had to go and do his work, and I came in and I tried to. People were mad at me, and my audio was bad, and everybody was yelling at everybody. And then, since
You're good
then,
luck, they said. The chat says you're good luck now, Zannis.
Since then,
I bounce?
I've
I'll
done
get out of here.
nothing but bring impact players here. I've brought Carlton Davis. I brought Moses here, and I undid the Milton Williams signing and got him to New England in an hour. Okay, that's
bad.
what's
Not
been
bad.
accomplished.
Magic.
Yeah, Giardi, I don't know if you have to bolt, and if you do, you have any final thoughts? And if you want to stay, please hang
I
with
can
us. We
stay
love
for
it.
a little bit. No, I look, it's awesome. It's again, to what Taylor just said, like the Landry signing now looks a lot better. It's also, to me, and I've been, been harping on this for a while now. You can't put Christian Barmore's name in pen. You can't. It's, the stuff that happened last year. And, even the Patriots aren't willing to like commit. Oh yeah, no. You're like he's working out and he's got a doctor's
Giardi,
appointment when
you
he comes back
had
in
something
April.
to do with this too.
Yeah, but it's
You had
like,
something to
so
do with this too.
you've got, you have to, they experienced it last year. And look, there was no foreseeing what happened to Barmore, and there was no real way to pivot at the point that it happened. But it's like, you can't play Daniel Akawale for 60% of the snaps. You can't keep rolling out Eric Johnson and Jacqueline Roy and all these guys. Like, you need better on the interior. You need to win there. And so now, not only do you have someone, if Barmore is right and can play, they can play next to him. And boy, like that could look beautiful. But if Barmore, if something happens, he's not as available, now you have Williams to, it's a bigger role for him. But like, you're paying him $26 million now. You got to go get it. But it certainly gives them a better ability to sort of pivot, or a better ability to sort of absorb things that happen to them. And I think that's massive. And look, he's a young kid, right? Like, he hasn't had to be one of the best guys on the defense. He's played on an awesome defensive line. So he like Sweat has never had to be the best or second best or even third best player in that group. And it'll be different when he's here, and he might get more attention, but like, there is a lot of talent there. No question.
So I actually thought about that, Mike, because it is fair. Like, the past couple years before 2024, Milton Williams is a run stopper, one of the better interior run stoppers in the league. There were flashes as a pass rusher, right? Like, he had some quick wins, not nearly what we saw this season, where he's top 3, almost an 18% pass rush win rate. Is that the kind of thing we're going to see every year? Probably not. I don't think that's really fair to assume, because it was the breakout year. But with Terrell Williams, with this coaching staff, you're hoping maybe he's not 18%. If you can hit him at double digits, though, consistently, and the run defense becomes more consistent, not only that, but when you look at the obvious pass situations, Keon White was one of the most disruptive interior rushers in the league. Eventually, teams figured it out, and they were like, wait, he's the only one they got. So he started getting more attention, and then they started dropping him into coverage, trying to fool guys. But really, it didn't work. Now you have Keon White. You have Milton Williams. One of those guys gets single blocked, you're in trouble. And now you have Harold Landry, a guy who, the opposite of Keon White, where Keon gets the pressures, not the sacks. Harold Landry may not get all the pressures, but he'll get those cleanup sacks. So again, like last night, I was really thinking for Landry, I'm like, if they can get Williams, I see the vision. Now, obviously, you need to get yourself a nose tackle that fits this scheme, but like, with this system, I think it was one of the ones where Milton Williams still needed to do a little bit of work, but I think it's a system where he can continue to have a lot of success.
Yeah, and the Landry thing is interesting, right? Because if you look at his sort of pass rush win rate over the last few years, he's sort of like roller coaster. And last year was awful. It was one of the, it might have actually been in terms of snaps played, the worst in the league last year.
Pass rush win rate among edge guys.
Yeah. So does this give him more life again? You know, playing in a system he's familiar again with Vrabel and Terrell Williams, and then having hopefully Barmore, definitely Williams, Keon White. Like, does this free him up to do a little bit more and maybe get him back to, he was around 10% the year before, as opposed to 4.8 last year. So like he gets there again. He didn't solve the pass rush thing, but you made it a hell of a lot better. And it was, as we well know, a massive problem last year.
Yeah, and just parroting some numbers put out here from a friend of CLNS Media Network, co-host of the Patriots Beat podcast, Brian Hines. Impending free agent Milton Williams posted a career-high 40 pressures in the regular season with a 17.7% pass rush win rate, fourth among qualified interior defenders, 14 pressures in the postseason for the Super Bowl champions. So again, you're getting some juice where you had none here. And this, again, absolutely completely changes the outlook here. And now I asked this of Taylor, Mike Giardi, and I'll ask it of you. Okay, let's say this is the whole of what you've done. How does this change the rest of your approach in terms of what you're looking to pick off here? How might this affect what you're looking for at that number 4 position in the draft in terms of stay, move along? A lot of people are saying, well, you whiffed on left tackle. I don't know what you were getting on left tackle here. I really don't know what you were getting in the free agent market. And now it feels to be a prevailing sentiment among people, not just like, fans on Twitter, but even, analysts who cover the team. I think this is more likely that they take, a left tackle at number 4, even though there might not actually be one worthy of taking there. Do you think they're like, we've learned this not draft for need thing? Like, how do you think this changes, how they kind of view things here? Because they're still power brokers with a number 4 overall pick in the draft. They can do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I still look at it as if they like Hunter as a receiver and Hunter's there at 4, you take Hunter. If Abdul Carter ends up there at 4, you take Abdul Carter. Otherwise, I think you got to try to go back. And again, the question is, who wants to come up? This isn't the same thing. So maybe the 2 quarterbacks going in the top 3 pushes one of those players I just talked about to you. If one of those guys doesn't go and those 2 players go and you're sitting there at 4, maybe someone later on in the draft who says, oh, we like Shador, we'll go up and get Shador. The question is, how far do you want to go back? But I think it gives them look, again, they need as many dart throws, roll the dice, whatever you want to do, because, the question is, if last year's draft can't be salvaged or much of it can't be salvaged, then this is a massive one for them regardless. I mean, whether it is or not, but it's still a massive one for them. If you get maybe more players, continue to keep some of those picks or gain more picks and still get someone that would impact you, whether it's 9, 12, wherever you're trading back to, I think they have to consider it, because they still have a lot of holes to fill. They've done a nice job today. In certain areas, there's still tackle, as you mentioned. There's still wide receiver. I think they'll probably be on a guard here somewhere, So, whether so there's definitely still work to be done, but the Williams thing definitely changes the vibe, because I like Spillane and Morgan Moses is a nice stopgap guy for a year. Go ahead.
Yeah, you need those, right? Like that. The winners in free agency, Mike, typically, and we've said this a bunch here, the winners are not the guys who spend the most money on the biggest player. It's usually the ones who clean up on the right depth piece and people that might be luxury items for other teams to afford. And you can, because you've got a little bit of space there. You could bring in quality players for actual value versus having to overpay by 20 to 30% for the best available at a position of need. But when you have as many needs as the Patriots and as much money, you can kind of do both. And that's where you're going to win more likely on the other lesser signings that you're filling in lower impact or positions that maybe aren't at the same premium as tackle, receiver, where you have to pay through the nose anyway, because those guys are going for $40 million, the second highest, position groupings behind quarterback. That's where it's going to be. So you still, when everything settles, this was a Belichick thing that people both loved and hated. Wait, wait for all the dust to settle, pick
Right.
it off where you can. It worked for so long, so well. But you can do both and still wait out the market and still find good quality players that are going to be massive upgrades. You looked at last year's roster, and I remember this was the most depressing thing about the exercise. If you looked up and down that roster, you might have thought there was about 10 people worth keeping, period. 12, 15, and the rest, if it went away, you would have no issue with it. If you had the exercise of who do you absolutely want to retain going forward, that number was teeny. So you can make waves in so many different places here.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, these guys have heard me say this, but like I've been sort of look at the 2001 offseason when they signed those 17 or 18 guys. And granted, there was a good base on that roster, and then Tom Brady developed into what he did, but you signed a bunch of mid-level guys or lower-level guys that ended up turning out to be okay for you, stopgap types. But you end up Vrabel, you end up David Patton, you end up Mike Compton. Like, they did things there that when we looked at it in a whole, we're like, okay, well, they raised the floor, but who are these guys, and really how much of a difference are they going to make? Well, it granted them some stability, allowed some of the younger players to develop, created competition, which I think that's really when we got the Belichick, like, harping on that every year. Like, no, we got to have competition. Like, I don't want a guy, like, there's a few guys that walk in and obviously it's their job, but by and large, I want all these guys to be scrapping for playing time. And hey, if you show me you're worth more time, we'll give you more time. And if you continue to earn that, like Kyle Arrington was comes in, undrafted free agent, special teams guy. Oh, he's good at special teams. Let's play him a little bit in dime. Oh, he did all right. Let's give him a little nickel. Oh, he's pretty good there. Next thing you know, he gets a contract extension, right? And then, of course, he has a bad Super Bowl, and Bill wants him, dead and gone. But, like, that's sort of the vibe that I want.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. That's the vibe that and that's sort of the pattern that I wanted him to get involved with this year, because I just think, and I said this to these guys, like, I think when I got to 40 on my 53-man final roster, I was like, I mean, I guess. You're just like, oh, they need a defensive tackle. Well, I'll keep him on the roster, but he's not good. And if he has to play, they're in trouble. I'll keep this safety, but he's not that good. I'll keep this receiver, but he's not that good. It's like, you start to flush that out with more veteran guys that have played in the league. You have what they've done on tape. And yeah, a couple of them probably won't make it. They'll get here and you'll be like, he's old, he's slow, he's hurt, he's soft, whatever it is. But 7 or 8 of those guys do make it. And now all of a sudden, you have harder decisions to make at the end. You have more competition. You force some of the young players who weren't good last year, but yet acted entitled to, like, oh crap, like, I gotta step it up here. If I don't step it up, I could be out the door, and all of a sudden my NFL dreams are already, shot to hell in year 2 or year 3. So I say embrace that, continue to do that, because you can get away with, you spend this big money here, you spend this big money there. You can still sign 5-6 guys in that whatever $3 to $7 million range for a year, and boy, your roster looks a lot better.
And I'll also say, we're talking about the roster and like all the young players, I feel like one thing we rarely talk about, there were definitely some draft classes, especially 2021 kind of before, where there are definitely some picks where you're scratching your head, 2020 really, where you're scratching your head, you really don't understand what they're doing, and the picks objectively, like the players are just like, they're not that good. I feel like 2020 is the one where it's like Cole didn't make a lot of sense. Taekwon didn't make a lot of sense, even with the philosophical shifts. I feel like the past 2 years, it's not that they lack talent. I want to see them with competent coaching, or coaching that fits their style. Like we talk about Keon White, literally outwardly said he wanted to be coached. Marte Mapu, he's super inconsistent and he's a little bit up there, but I can't help shake the feeling that he's overthinking a lot. And, obviously the coaching change may have had something to do with it, but like talented player. Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, a little bit of a different case, but like everyone knows Jalen Polk is a talented player. He showed the flashes. The offensive lineman, also different situations, but like these young guys don't lack talent. So I want to see what they can do with a guy like Doug Marrone, who is an experienced and proven O-line coach. Debatable how much success he's had recently, but a guy who's done it before. Todd Downing, not a receivers coach historically, been a tight ends coach, also a guy who's worked with quarterbacks. Maybe he puts you in the perspective of like, this is what Drake is going to want in X situation, right? So I just want to see what these young guys can do with competent mentorship, because as much as we can talk about the drafting, I don't really hate the drafting the past 2 years. I know I went crazy for the Marte Mapu pick. We always play the clip. I know it was funny, but like, these aren't bad players. I would
chew it up, love it.
That next level.
Don't give me a reason.
I don't know why I did
very quickly, breaking news. Does it affect the Patriots? I don't know. I think everything has trickle-down effects. The Seattle Seahawks are signing quarterback Sam Darnold to a 3-year, $110 million deal. Interesting shakeup here in Seattle, going from Geno to Darnold. It's another team off the board that doesn't need a quarterback. If you're talking about the Patriots trading back, though, Seattle was pretty far, was further back than you think that would have been comfortable to go. However, more importantly, it takes another stopgap quarterback off the board that some other quarterback needy team might have signed instead of drafting somebody, which now does potentially create more trade partner possibilities with the Patriots. And again, if you were looking at one of the teams up top, thinking maybe I'll go with a Darnold type and shore up my team elsewhere, that's off the board. So again, you have to think quarterbacks are going, if not 1-2, somewhere in the top 3 before New England picks. But it does become very interesting if one of the top 2 quarterbacks is available at 4 and you are the Patriots. Because again, the Titans are kind of sending signals. We're not, I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, but we'll see where that goes.
One of my guys in Tennessee was like, 2 of the names that they'd been hearing were Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. So they could just go with the Will Levis veteran disaster from that class, and then, whatever, pick a young player in day 3 and push the quarterback conversation for another year.
Yeah. And look, this isn't far from where the Patriots are with receiver and left tackle. If something that's not going to be the guy is available in a premium draft slot, do you take it just cause, or do you just live with kicking the can down the road a little bit further? With quarterback, it's different because you're not getting the guy outside of a top 2-3 pick. It's just not going to happen. I mean, last year being an anomaly where you were getting quality guys, we didn't know that. We thought teams were reaching, but it turns out that people were able to get quarterbacks and 6 went, and all of them might be pretty good. So that's an interesting year, but that's an outlier. It's an anomaly. The problem with quarterback and having to take it is, I don't know if I'm going to be back here again. And if you're anywhere outside of that position, to get back into that point, you got to start to give up insane amounts of draft capital to get back into the position to draft there. So you build a team and you end up back in Jeff Fisher land, 8 and 9. You're drafting 16, 17. You're screwed. You can't get your guy, again. So this is where you get them. You just got to be lucky, like the Patriots were, and being in a position where the number 3 pick gets you a quarterback who's probably a number 1 pick in, 4 of the last 6 drafts.
Sure. Yeah.
In this draft, by far, people are killing themselves to get the number 1 to take Drake May.
Yep. Yeah. It's an interesting scenario. Again, the more we see here in free agency, the better grasp you're going to have on what those teams ahead of them or around them are going to have to do. And again, we'll get more. The way Shedeur Sanders is talking and sort of spitting back at the media who's talking about him falling, he's talking like a guy who already knows something.
He knows where he's going.
That we don't know. So it's like, you guys are all going to be proven wrong when the Giants or the Browns or whoever it is take me. I mean, I have serious questions about that. I think he's a 2nd-round pick, but we know this is what happens. So like, I felt this way about Nix and Penix last year. I'm like, those guys are like late 1st, 2nd-round picks, and they end up going 8 and 12 or 10 and whatever it was. Like, it's just, that's the nature of the beast. Those guys get overdrafted, and then you have to hope, like the teams got this year, that those guys are actually, at least at this moment, proving to be worthy of where they were picked. So it'll be interesting.
Remember what shoe Shedeur was wearing? What was it, late in the season, like one of the last games? He's wearing the Giants cleats.
Oh yeah. He and Malik Neighbors playing catch in some street corner in New York at one point. Like, around the Heisman or something. Yeah, interesting. I'll tell you what, Brian Daboll, man. I mean, they might not have a choice.
Right.
That's a risky proposition to be holding on to. Is going to save your job.
You know what though? Drafting a quarterback does save you. Well, except for Gerard Mayo, but
Oh.
typically, I didn't mean to say I wasn't going there. Didn't do it to set up a Mayo joke or dig. I was going to say typically the rookie quarterback buys you a year because you're waiting for them to develop. So it's almost job saving for an entire regime to be like, let's see how they develop under this guy. And you have a little bit of leeway to see if it works. It didn't work here. But yeah,
my guy ARS in the chat doesn't like me, but I'm sorry, bud. Sorry, you don't like.
I just banned him. You cannot insult you cannot insult people like that here.
Sometimes children behave, you know.
We have a code of ethics here. Like, just yell it. Tell us you don't like the idea. Dude, you're not calling people names here. We're not, or each other. We're not doing that.
Hey, the chat does want to know about Makari, and that's someone that they had circled prior to. Yep. Now, again, I don't know what lengths they're going to go. Yep. He's someone who's been versatile. You know, he's played multiple positions on the offensive line for Baltimore. This was the first year that he really got it turned over. You're the starter and go, and had a pretty good, pretty solid year for them. Obviously a good run blocker in particular, although he showed real growth as a pass blocker this year. Again, that gives you another option. Like, is he you probably get paid a point where you're going to say, well, that's sort of no doubt starter money, but you have the option of creating some more competition at that spot. And if you have to, like, whatever, I don't know what, we haven't even signed the guy, but like you're talking about the money thing, like that's probably like a 2 and 20, something like that. Like that, those players can be, it didn't work. Well, we eat it. We eat 1 year of it. Like that tends to be the way some of those moves go, especially for interior players. So yeah, he's someone that they like. They definitely like.
Taylor, you like this?
I like Makar. He and Milton Williams, when I send out like the pictures of all the free agents, I've been doing it since like November. He's consistently been one of the guys. Just like physically, he's not very impressive. I know I saw 30 in charms on him. I was like, damn, is that even legal? Like, can you play offensive lineman with damn near 30 in charms? But one thing about him that really impresses me, he's a smart guy. He's a pro veteran, like all of those things where you just don't see a lot of egregious losses. And when you do, it's like Milton Williams. Like Milton Williams took him to town on like 2 or 3 snaps where it was like ball snaps. Oh, Milton won. But if you look at the whole thing, you're also seeing reps where it's like, okay, Makari, like you're replacing your hands, you're resetting your anchor. Like he's doing the things to hang on that you need to do when you're not the most physically imposing. And left guard, other than center, is probably the least strenuous position to play. A lot of the time you're getting help. The 3 techniques usually align to the right side. That's why you typically see right guards make a lot more money. But I like Patrick Makari a lot. He's not going to be the signing that blows you away, but you don't know what you have in Layden Robinson or City So, Cole Strange. You still don't know. As much as I love the guy, I mean, this is now going to be his contract season, and we still don't really know what he is for sure, even though he's shown spurts. So I think Makari is the perfect bridge. Like Jenkins, availability is an issue. You don't even know if he's going to be able to play, even though he's a good player. Makari, availability is not in question. 5-position versatility. I don't even really see a downside in this one. You overpay him, you're not paying Drake May for another 3-4 years, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and this is where this is when, because of the rookie quarterback contract, you're allowed to take swings, and you might miss on some of these, but take them. And to this point, they've tried on a couple and missed. They keep taking them, so like that makes a lot of sense. I'm with you too. Like, as much as you'd love for someone of the City So, Layden Robinson, Cole Strange group to take and seize the left guard gig, none of them did anything in the last year that says, oh yeah, we got that. Like, well, we'll coach them up a little bit better and they'll be that guy. So you have to sort of protect yourself in that regard. And look, as much as we focus on left tackle, having a really good right tackle is important. And if you now feel like, and we'll still have some questions about David Andrews and whether or not he's back, but like
right tackle, right guard, center. Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, hey, you sign Makari to play left guard. No, then you're like, hey, we have 1 spot we have to coach around. Okay. Which is last year you had 3 spots you had to coach around. And there were points where you had 4 spots where you had to coach around because either Nwenu wasn't playing great at the beginning of the year, or then when you went to Ben Brown, while he was competent, there were times where he was overwhelmed. So it's like, no, if I'm Josh McDaniels and I go into a week and say, I trust Morgan, I trust Nwenu, I trust whoever my center is, I trust Makari. Okay, we're going to have to work around Vidarian Lowe or whoever, left tackle. You can do that. You can chip, you can double, and you can roll a mobile quarterback away from it. You can do all sorts of things. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than where you were.
It's like average. Imagine having an
That's
average
what I said.
line last
Get
year.
to league average. Get
Yes,
to league average this year. Yeah.
Taylor, you tweeted that, and it's so true. And it's because they had all this money, and for a while there's all these names. You're like, well, you could just change everything. Or like, look at what Chicago did. Chicago took some risk, right? You know, Joe's still a good player. 16 million heading into a free agency year at 32. You know, Dahlman's not loved by everyone. He gets paid, I think the most guaranteed money a center's ever gotten? Something close to it.
Oh, yeah. No, he's the second highest paid now, right?
Yeah. And then Jonah Jackson, who is a good player but can't stay healthy. And they're paying him $17 million and had to give up draft collateral for him as well. So it's like, well, they did it. Why can't these guys do it? And I'm not saying they shouldn't have been involved in some of that stuff, but I'm just saying you can sort of see what the vision is here and what they're trying to put together. And again, you're not turning from an F to an A+. It's
right.
in one off season.
Yeah.
You're just not going to do it. But if you can get from an F to a C+,
That's
B-, if some of these younger players come along, oh crap, you know, like you did some things offensively last year when you couldn't block. What might you be able to do with at least being league average or maybe a skosh above?
And you've got the quarterback. That is the hardest part in this entire equation, where being average is okay when you have the guy who can rise all ships. And why I've been saying the priority is getting average by doing that, by adding veterans. Just get guys where you're not going out in the game being like, I wonder what kind of game he's going to have.
Right.
I love the Jacoby. I took advantage of it. I would love a Jacoby Myers where I'm like, oh, he's going to have 7 catches, 85 yards, maybe a touchdown. Obviously, I didn't have it for a while, but cool. I know what I'm getting versus is Jalen Polk going to catch a pass? Is he going to do something that gets him, roasted on Twitter for a week in his 5 snaps? Just give someone that Drake knows every week, I can rely on this guy. He'll make the great plays. He'll extend if they understand how to get open. That's where you start to see the offense become better than what you'd expect. And the defense, like I also mentioned, that's where the playmakers were. Now you got Milton Williams, who is the real prize piece. You got Landry. You got Carlton Davis, Spillane, a linebacker that you're familiar with. Now you mentioned it's starting to take shape. This has to be a defensive and special teams-led football team, run game as well. Offensive line, get yourself some veterans who are at least solid. 2 former Ravens, if you get McCarry, that's pretty good for the run game.
Yep.
And you invested in Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, and Antonio Gibson to a degree. Give them an advantage. Don't make Ramondre Stevenson earn 120% of his yards after contact. You know what I'm saying? So again, I know it's not going to be super impressive, but you don't need the home runs right now because you have Drake.
This is the build, man. We all want it to happen in 1 year, but it's just everybody wants it to happen overnight because, Washington did it or the Texans did. Texans took 3 years to turn over their roster before they took the big jump.
Exactly.
I do think it's also important. Yeah, again, it's to continue to remind people how far behind they were because of, everything that had happened in the years that preceded last season. You're talking about the offensive guard situation. Yeah, you would love one of the 6 interior offensive linemen you've taken in the last 3 years to hit, but you missed, and you took them in the spot you're supposed to take these type of guys. This is where you've taken your Onwenu's, your Mike, your Toonies, your Shaq Masons, and you none of them. I mean, first round draft capital on a guard that can't play, I mean, insane amount. And right now you don't have, you're plugging holes you thought you took care of. You draft, receivers as well. You got to kind of go back to the well there. So they have to undo a lot of the things that were already done here and almost kind of start from scratch. Mike, I don't know if you want to add something to that. I was going to move the conversation in a different direction. But you got something else?
I was just going to say, this is a classic, in the time of X not working properly, up and down. Schefter just tweeted, Justin Fields reached an agreement on a 2-year, $40 million deal that includes $30 million guaranteed. There's one problem with this tweet. It doesn't say what team.
What
I
team?
Think
I thought I missed it. It looks like he put him in a Jets uniform, and this would make sense because the Jets were obviously very interested in him. But yeah, it left out the team. It left out the team. Yeah, Jets. All right. Field Yates just retweeted said the Jets.
Get out of here.
And Schefter just created it. Well, look, they had no option, man. They were screwed.
Do the Steelers have it up? Well, that's a trade. That's a trade. That's
Or
a possible
Aaron
trade
Rodgers.
off the
Maybe.
board.
I thought Darnold maybe because they got Metcalf now. A couple vertical threats.
You go Darnold now working with Kubiak, so he knows the offense in Seattle. Fields to the Jets, which leaves really Pittsburgh is the open seat, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Saints,
They can't bring
if
Russell
you
back,
believe
can they?
them,
He sucks.
I thought they were committing to Fields. That's crazy to me.
I don't. Yeah, I guess Fields wanted to see what was out there.
But also, did Fields want to commit to the Steelers after last season? Was he like, no, I'm not going to let you pull the rug out from under me the next time?
Yeah,
what
was I 4-2, and you said, screw you, we're going to go to Russell.
Explain this to me, because this I do not understand. Like, DK Metcalf signed for a team without a quarterback. Like, I understand, like, setting your priorities for what you want to do in a contender and this and that. How can you decide? I get it, but like, let's say the Patriots were willing to do this also, like, and Metcalf was kind of, I don't know how much control he had over his destination here. This is banana land to me. Like, you're never going to hear from DK Metcalf again. Like, that's all it's going to be. DK Metcalf from now on will be referred to as DK Metcalf's contract, because if you're going somewhere where you're just not, where there's nobody to throw you the ball at all, and an Arthur Smith offense, my favorite tweet was somebody who's like, Arthur Smith has 2 new weapons to block in the screen game in Metcalf and whatever. I don't know what you're doing here. This is hell. I'll ask you this, because again, it all comes back to the receivers here. Rank them right now. Rank the remaining available wide receivers, whether it be trade or free agency, that you'd like to see them target. But I had a premonition that we were about to get a Stephon Diggs tweet. Patriots sign, and I don't know why. I'm just looking at it and I just had a vibe. I had a feeling this is also somebody coming off of reconstructive knee surgery who's a little bit on the decline and has a little bit of diva in his game. Might not be the type of veteran voice you want in the room, but I don't know if the Patriots are going to want to take one big swing at whatever's remaining here. So that Cup, you mentioned Ayuk. Where do you want if Slayton is a bargain basement sort of thing? Name someone, like, what's the order you'd like to see them in here, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I call about Ayuk. I do, because I think if they're really desperate to move him, that you maybe can get him for a 4, and that'd be something that I'm interested in. And again, you're going to have to wait a half year. You're not going to get the same kind of player. Maybe you don't even get the same kind of player until next year. But he's still a young guy, 27, I think he is at this point. I'm definitely. I have Slayton on the line. I'm calling him. I think you'd have to really overpay Kupp to get him to come here. And I don't know that I would want to do that at this point in his career. I mean, he basically became persona non grata in their offense in the second half of the season, and they desperately needed one. They go out and sign Devontae Adams for his same money, but they gave Tutu Atwell, who's like, I don't get it, for $10 million. Like, they were just like, we're good.
A jetpack.
Yeah, we're good. So, it's been 3 years since he won the Triple Crown in receiving. He was awesome. He still has moments, but I don't know that you can trust those moments now for the course of a full season. So, look, if they end up with him, fine. Like, again, it's a grown man in the room that needs a grown man. And anyone you talk to about him would say he'd be awesome for that room, but I just don't know about what's left in the tank for him. So I'd much rather take
AJ friggin' Brown is what's left in the tank.
Well,
I'm just kidding, but...
Don't just say his name like that.
Look, I mean, we're not telling tales out of school. I mean, they would love if he became available. Absolutely, right. Positively. But
is there anything to that? Like, the kind of, I don't want to even call him antics, because it wasn't like, he was making a scene, but I mean, he was reading a book on the sideline. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he loved the way he was used, but they just won a Super Bowl. I just, it's like sort of.
But he said he's not about Super Bowls.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
How about the power of friendship with his good friend, Mike Vrabel?
Yes, perhaps. Right. Mentorship. I don't know. I can't. I still think that T. Higgins is more likely to pop free than AJ in the next couple months.
I don't like that either. Like, Ayuk, at least, even if he loses some juice, like his route running, his instincts, just like on the field, you see this is a guy where, like, a lot of spatial awareness, just does the little things where you pause the tape and you're like, ooh, like, dip the shoulder a little bit, like little influence where you don't think that losing a step is going to severely impact his game. Like, he's never been a deep threat. He's always been short to intermediate, but he will undress you. So even like you said, if he comes back mid-season, you're still getting the best receiver you've had since Julian Edelman in like 2019. I don't mind that as much. And at least he's available. Like, what you're getting again out of Ayuk. With T, how many games is he going to miss? Like, I really like him off the field as well. He's one of those guys where if it weren't for the injuries, go get him. I don't care that he's not a true number one. Good. I think he's kind of a leadership kind of guy. He has a skill set that fits Drake May. But it's the availability thing that makes me feel icky. And you're going to have to trade for him. And you got to sign him to a contract that's bigger than what he deserves. At least Ayuk, the 49ers foot some of the bill. You're giving up a fourth, probably your pick of the third, depending on how much you want to pay. You know, I just think that's much more appetizing if you're trying to trade for somebody. As much as I like T, and I've tried so hard to justify it, I would still feel kind of icky about it.
Josh Palmer, anybody do anything for him?
He's young KB is the way I see it.
Yeah.
And that's what like Jalen Polk should be and what like Ted could be. And what like there's so many of those guys. I'm not really moved, to be honest. Like Palmer's been the best receiver on.
We're staying on this stream until the Patriots trade for AJ Brown. That's my promise to you.
Where's the meme of the skeleton?
I willed it. I said we're staying here until the Milton Williams things happen, and we did. What else do we want to have happen? I'll make the declaration. Taylor's like, I want to pee and eat and everything.
All right, well, let me throw this scenario then. Just say we're talking through some things. So let's say San Francisco doesn't want to move Ayuk, or he gets moved somewhere else because someone's willing to give up a higher pick. You're not in on you don't like Palmer. You're not in on Slayton. Would you do Diggs for a year? Well, it would have to be 2 at this point because he's probably, again, he's one of those guys who got hurt in October.
A pup and wait sort of list.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes with, a profile.
A lot of baggage.
Yeah. Him and who's Cardi? It's him and Cardi, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a big deal. I would take Diggs, honestly, if they feel like it. Maybe, Casario, does he have still any connections in the building? Like,
Diggs gave Christian Gonzalez the business last year. He wasn't as.
Look, Diggs is a good football player.
I think he's a good player. Yeah, that's not the question.
Yeah.
It's just like, the familiarity angle. Where with Milton Williams, there's nothing really where you're like, we need to, maybe do some double checking. Is there anybody they could do that with Diggs? If so, I'm all for it. I still think.
Yeah, well, I mean, Josh could call up Casario. You got the overlap.
Oh, that's
there.
right. Yeah.
Deo at a Yingbo, I think is how you pronounce it. Taylor, you had mentioned that name earlier. I don't know if this is old news. He is signing with the Bears.
Yeah, it's a good scheme fit for them. It's a good piece actually on their D line.
Bears are doing stuff.
Pelissero was massive money for him.
Really?
Much more money than you would expect.
Is there a Colts guy on that staff, or did they just love the tape?
He just loved the tape. Started to come on. He had 47 pressures last year. Started to come on. Had dealt with some injuries early in his career. Second round pick.
And all these teams with money, they're all in the same boat. Who cares? Who cares if we overpay? It does not matter. Quarterback on a rookie deal, all the money in the world, no one to spend it on.
I want to go back to this because it's not, again, like super Patriots relevant, except if you like the demise of the Jets. But we do recognize that Justin Fields is statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL, right?
I like everything. Justin Fields, so I didn't want to tweet what I was thinking, but I was like, I was going to be like, I love the Jets. I love the Jets. They cannot
that he went there.
And I know options weren't great or anything, but
it's the classic Arrested Development.
Oh yeah, baby, let's make it happen.
It's the classic Arrested Development, meme, but it might work for us. It's like you see it all the time.
With him, you're just betting on he's still young. Maybe he's the next Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, sort of it finally happens for him for a stretch. So.
I will say, I was watching Darnell Mooney last offseason, and very rarely in the NFL am I distracted by the quarterback because usually they're good enough, like a miss or whatever, it's expected. The misses I saw on Fields' tape were what people talked about Drake May being in the NFL.
Yeah.
Where it's literally just I don't even know what he was trying to do. Or it's just such an egregious miss. It's this is not an NFL quarterback.
And yet DJ Moore loved him. Remember, DJ Moore was pouting. I don't want Caleb.
Isn't he just a locker room guy? They love him as a person, and it's just all right, he can run, he can make some good plays.
Yeah. I think it's also he's the classic case of the oh my God, did you see that one thing that he did, as opposed to watching the entire game and being oh my God, did you see this really basic throw he didn't make, or literally not seeing anything that was in front. It's I gotta find it. I found one tweet. It's like he had almost impossible stats in terms of like the percentage of throws that went less than 10 yards downfield, plus his incompletions, plus his off-target throws. Like it was almost impossible to amass that many negative throws with his like throw profile. Really, really crazy. I also want to say quickly on the quarterback thing, just my take here. I know Sam Darnold is younger. I know he probably had a better overall season than Geno Smith last year, in statistically speaking, but I really, really, really wonder whether that was an absolute just, smoke screen, BS, perfect situation, great receivers, good setup, terrific offensive coach, and he turns back into being a much closer version to the Sam Darnold we've seen every year prior to last year than that. I don't understand that move necessarily, by Seattle at all. But again, those are my quarterback.
This is that scheme. This is he played the 1 year in Shanahan's scheme and sort of rehabbed his image, even though he only played the one game there. And then he goes to Minnesota on the 1 year prove it deal. You're going to keep the seat warm for JJ, and then has this run where he's actually, in the conversation for MVP. And now you're going to a place that hired Clint Kubiak to run the same offense out in Seattle. So it's just, I think they're just kind of hoping, like, we know that he kind of works in this offense, or he works as good as he's going to work. And he's, 7 years younger than Geno. And, we don't want to pay Geno that money. So I don't know. The problem for them is if their offensive line is anything like it's been the last 2 years, Sam will break again, like quickly. That's he does not do well in the face of pressure, and their line put Geno Smith in the face of pressure from start to finish for the last however many years.
That Jets Browns quarterback cycle is genuinely tragic. Like when you think about this is a guy's career. This is a 21, 22-year-old kid who you are literally just physically abusing for years on end to the point where they are traumatized, and years later, like obviously in better situations, they thrive. But like you said, as soon as he goes back to a bad line that he can't fully trust, it's going to snap back in. I don't know, man. Like I feel like we think of these guys as Madden players sometimes. It's really sad. And but it's awesome when they get to go to a situation like a Baker, like a Geno, where it's like, finally, this guy can go somewhere where his skills can thrive and he can be the mentor and it all works out for him. Because, man, you should get like some type of extra insurance policy if you work for the Jets or the Browns. Like whatever, like trauma insurance. I don't know what it is, but like, I don't know. I love the redemption stories, but it's so sad seeing those rookie quarterbacks have to go through those 4+ years of nonsense.
Yeah. As you guys are scrolling through here, again, just letting everybody know here, bonus memberships available. And Taylor's going to do some deep dive on some of our guys using film. If you want to check it out, Patriots premium memberships are available on the channel. We'd love to have you here. Try it out, test it out, see what Taylor's got to offer. We have one on Chris Godwin, which sadly no one's ever going to watch again. Burn the tape, Taylor. That one's out the door. But now that you've got guys in the fold,
there. It was good practice.
Good hustle. The premium members got their money's worth on that one to see what Taylor liked so much about Godwin potentially coming here. We'll do a deep dive on some of that stuff. All pro tier or higher gets all of the film review. You get into the GOAT tier and you're going to get to talk to some people in a more intimate way with some ask me anything, chat rooms and this and that. So you get to really interact with some of the hosts here. And again, you want to support the show with super chat donations. We're down with that. Bring it. Here we're going on close to 3 hours, and again, I don't know what's left to talk about here on the show. Do you think this is it? This is the first wave, and everything cools now? Because this happens a lot. You get that frenzy, and then it's kind of like it trickles out over days. What name are we waiting to drop here next to see like where you are with stuff? Because it is always interesting. You don't get signed in the first couple of hours. You might get stuck for a little bit here, and like who might be stuck in limbo that you might be able to start picking guys off on the cheap, because guys go into day 2 or day 3 of this, without really getting their big deal. That big money dries up fast.
Josh Sweat is still out there, right? That hasn't happened.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there are some physical concerns. That knee has been weird since like high school. So, he might need a little bit of more of a medical check for the kind of money that I think we all thought he was going to get. Justin Reed still out there.
I like him a lot. I wonder, do you think
Dre Greenlaw's still out there?
Oh, yeah.
And again, there's the Makari and Cam Robinson situation here. Cam Robinson is interesting that this wasn't an early signing though, right? Like, I
think
know
it's-
there's a lot of warts. I know the numbers
Yeah.
don't look great. I know people aren't enamored, but based on the dearth of available options and the amount of teams that need help there, I am a little bit surprised someone hasn't thrown something his way yet.
Yeah, I am too, a little bit, just because there wasn't much out there. Again, but that sort of
Yeah.
tells you where he sort of stacked in the left tackle list. I think a lot of, myself included, was like, he'll probably be the first or second one to go off the board after
Right.
Lonnie Stanley signed, and that tape was so inconsistent. So between getting traded by the Jags, we're like, yeah, you know what, we're good. We're not going to sign you to a second contract. And then, right when he got to Minnesota, I think he played a game right away and did pretty well. And you're like, okay, like, settled it down for them with Christian Darrisaw out for the year. But then the last 3 or 4 games, in particular that playoff game, he just got beat like a drum. And I think, what was it overall, 52 pressures off the left tackle spot. Like, he should be a better player than he is, but now are we at the point where, like, this is what he is now? Like, have we gotten to the point where people are just looking at him going, okay, if we have to, that's what we'll do. But the idea of maybe giving him more money than he's worth. But then Dan Moore got $21 million a year. So I don't know.
That's what I don't get.
That's a weird one to me. I'm
What do
talking
we
through it.
think
It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Do you think Zadarius Smith would come to a rebuilding team, or because it feels like he's been trying to go to teams that are going to be real contenders, but the Mike Smith connection, their boys worked with Terrell Williams last year. Do you think he could be a guy that they bring in as that situational rusher if they keep Anthony Jennings on to kind of rotate in that side?
Yeah, I mean, that would make a lot of sense. And again, we're talking about continuing to improve the pass rush. That gives them a hell of a lot more juice, because if you're not going to have the one guy that's going to command all the attention, if you have multiple guys that are above average pass rushers, then it does become a problem for opposing offensive lines. So, I mean, I certainly would keep him in mind. It's the question is, as to your point, does he want to come to a place that, what's the ceiling? Does he look at the roster now and say they're a 7-win team, or are they an 8-win team? If everything goes great, are they, whatever. I'm not, I think that's got to be part of the calculus. And they're like,
we can talk ourselves into it, but they have to, and they don't want to.
Yeah. Is he like, he's sort of becoming the Jadeveon Clowney, like similar lines, like Clowney's, although Clowney's sort of just been like, who's going to give me the best bag? Right. Zadarius is one, who's giving me money, but also, are they still in the mix? Now, does he get to the point where I'll just take you, if you're going to pay me $10 million, I'll go play for you,
Not a
Why
bad
is
line.
why is no one talking about desperation, stopgap? I guess go get this if you can't find anything else, Tyron Smith anymore. And I know, again, did not have a great year, but neither did some of the other top options.
He's probably a let it filter and see what happens, right? Like, okay, most of the chairs have been filled. Tyron, you didn't want to come here last year. We couldn't even get you the same thing. We couldn't get you to pick up a phone for us.
He was, again, you're talking about last year. He wasn't great, but he was also, like, I think out of all left tackles, kind of in that 20 overall range in terms of like how he graded out. Like, it's, again, value over replacement is still significant even at his age on a 1-year flyer. And you might be right, Mike. That might be you wait on it. It's just a name that hasn't come up here. You're fully, like, as Taylor said earlier, or, you guys were both talking about, you fix 4 out of 5 spots and coach yourself around a Vidarian Lowe. Sure. You fix 4 out of 5 spots and live with the 20th best left tackle in football. You're actually okay. Like, I do think that you could do worse than one of these Band-Aid guys, as long as you don't have to break the bank.
I wonder too, just about availability. Is that one of those guys that they look at and say, like, man, he just can't stay on the field? So, like, even though we might only have to pay $9 million for 1 year of him, like, is he going to play more than
like Trent Brown? What's Trent Brown's current profession?
He is I believe he's a free agent, right?
Yeah. Does he play football still? Is he still trying this?
By Amarius Mims last year.
Yeah, had the injury, right? So I don't know where he is at injury. I'm judging from his work ethic, I don't know how quickly he would come back from something like that.
There's never been an athlete that I can remember in my lifetime who continued to play with such disdain for him for the sport, for what it takes to play it. It's almost like, if you idiots are going to keep paying me, I guess I'll keep playing, but I hate it. I don't like football. I don't like practice. I don't like playing, but I'll take it. And he lasted for a while doing that. I don't like my body, and I don't want to take care of it. None of it. I want to do none of the things associated with playing football except cashing the checks. And he did it for a fairly long time at a fairly high level, all things considered.
And then he came at the end of 2 years ago. He was Mr. Blowtorch too. He took a blowtorch to the
Yeah.
coaching staff,
All of it.
everybody. He hated everybody.
Yeah. No, and I'm not suggesting Trent Brown is somebody here, but I'm not suggesting it. Oh, I will say, I am a little blown away by how this all went down here. I thought we had reached a point of legal tampering where people pretended not to sign people for a little bit longer than they did here. And everybody just came flying out of the gate this year. This is as tampery as I remember this since a couple teams got slapped on the wrist. How did this happen again? How did we get to this point where like it was always a joke? Then it was like, all right, we have to pretend it's serious, and now we're no longer pretending it's serious.
Did
anyone get in trouble for it? Did Atlanta get penalized last year for the Kirk Cousins stuff?
I believe so.
Let me Google that, because it was like I feel like even if they did, it wasn't something.
I think they did.
Tampering punishment, because it's like,
yeah,
if you're not gonna,
they lost a pick, but it was low. I just can't remember what it was. Fifth rounder.
I mean, that's not insignificant, but if you thought you had your quarterback of the future, you're like, well, whatever. You can take my 5th round.
I'd
pick.
rather, yeah, right. But you don't want to lose it for like, like the Moses thing is slightly concerning after the Rossini messed up graphic.
I'll give you
she said was her graphic team here, and it was not her graphic team. She had the insight, and she's trying to cover her ass. But that clearly was oops.
Yeah, but I will say I think she probably has 150 of those loaded in her drafts.
Totally.
Like, so she might have just prematurely hit send on that one. I don't,
Yeah, it's possible. So we might be approaching the end here because I don't know how much more could happen, but also we're 6 minutes short of doing 3 hours, and I kind of want to have that badge of honor here that we went for 3 hours on this stream and willed several things to happen. So guys, kind of final thoughts here on terms of the whole picture, where you are with the Patriots. You can't get mad, right? Like you can't get mad for overpays, even if you do think that they had it, because you knew that's what it was going to take to get business. You can't get mad at people who never wanted to come here or wanted to stay home, like a Chris Godwin situation. And you have to at least be happy with, from going from a year of we're going to burn some cash and watching them do nothing to, all right, we're going to burn some cash. We're going to be aggressive as hell. And they were. So again, you're not going to hit on everything that you want, but I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it going much better on day one than it has, just in terms of addressing a few areas of need, just not necessarily the ones everybody wanted.
I mean, I like 3 of the 4 guys that they're the big ones that they signed. Like I had Milton Williams as I think a player on the come up. I think that's a position you absolutely had to address. Again, going back to the Barmore stuff, just like not only is it a good player, but you're giving yourself insurance. Spillane's a madman. Like he fits what they want to do. He's a little older, right? But like, I mean, he tackles everything in sight. Carlton Davis going to get hurt. He gets hurt every year. So you just count on him being out for 4 or 5 weeks. That's just sort of go look at his game log. That's what happens. But when he plays, he's a good football player. And now you have arguably, when they're healthy, he and Gonzo, that's a pretty nasty 1-2 punch that makes you a lot better defensively and gives you an opportunity to do some different things. Because I think we look at Gonzo, man corner, they can do both. Davis can do both. He likes to get in your face, but he can also play some zone stuff. But and again, I'm not knocking him for it. Landry wasn't, despite the numbers last year, Landry wasn't very good. So, and I know 9.5 sacks, but just go watch.
That worried me a little bit because I was worried their intel told them, I'll let you get your take on that. Sorry, Tyler. I was worried their intel told them they were going to whiff left and right. And the Landry was a let's lock this up now before it gets out of hand tomorrow. And so that worried me a little bit. I'm like, why are they doing this at this money at this point before they see how the rest of it shakes out? That sent a weird vibe for me. And I guess it wasn't the case. It's just Vrabel really liked him and believes in him, and maybe that he can kind of get the most out of him again. But yeah, go ahead, Taylor. Sorry.
I think the familiarity was the really big part of it, where it's like, all right, it's the leader in the room, where that's our guy. He sets the standard. But I will say, and this has bit me in the ass many times before, but with this free agent signings, when I don't understand them, or if I look at the highlights or whatever, and I'm just like, I don't really see it. I'm just like, all right, hone in on what the guy is doing well. Like, even if it's not appetizing. And what I saw was just the discipline. Like, that was what stood out to me. for a pass rush that there was the middle of the season where they got better, right? They weren't allowing as many guys to break out of the pocket, but it felt like for a while, every week in the beginning and the end, Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow, 49-year-old Aaron Rodgers is breaking the pocket on you for big plays. And it was Keon White, because he's still raw, not very disciplined. But it was also Dietrich Wise, one, not being athletic enough to consistently keep guys hemmed in, but also just being undisciplined himself and not being the version of himself that I think people expected. So when I looked at Landry, it's like, I don't really care how you get 8+ sacks a year. Judon wasn't getting them in one-on-one wins all the time either. You know what I mean? It's just, are you still going to be able to complement and help the guys around you? And when you watch Landry and his sacks, it's, he had an idea that the interior was going to twist and have this pressure. He's just trying not to get too far upfield to come back. So I know it's not exciting. Like, I'm not trying to gas this or anything, but just when looking at Landry as a pass rusher, it's less of everything he can't do for someone with his skill set. You'd expect him to be this just bona fide, I'm beating everybody with my hands and no one can stop me. That's not what he is. He's a pretty rudimentary hand user, but he gives you great run defense and discipline in the pass rush, which if you have a great interior rush, you want great rushers all over the board, but a guy who is familiar with the system, I understood it way more once I really dove in, because at first I was Landry. I was like, he's fine. I don't get it, but it just made more sense to kind of deeper I dove in.
Yeah, the people that I talk to that I still know with the Titans, even after the change over there, which is kind of like, and it's funny because you had a next gen stat about him getting off the line of scrimmage. They thought he slowed. They thought he slowed down. They thought Arden Key was the better player. So
yeah.
But again, to your point, is familiarity, and that's the other thing. You kind of connect the dots. The 4 big signings so far. Well, no, Milton Williams is the one that doesn't have a connection, right? But like everything else that they've done, there's a connection. Josh coached Spillane in Vegas. Vrabel had him to start his career in Tennessee. Carlton Davis was with Terrell Williams last year in Detroit. So they have this
Moses
sort of
and
like
Todd Downing.
Yeah, you're like I know the dude. Like I can vouch for the dude, which again, was one of the beefs about last year's coaching staff, is maybe there wasn't enough involvement or didn't know enough guys, although, I'm not necessarily buying that, but that was sort of spun in that direction from front office. So
yeah, I know this is, go ahead.
I'm just saying there were definitely some oddballs. Like, I bet they wish they had a little more intel on Chooks. I don't like throwing KJ under the bus because it was literally like one thing he did, and I'm sure his impact outside was immeasurable. But I mean, even if it wasn't the reason, definitely having guys where it's like, I've worked with this guy, seen him since he came into the league, and have an idea gives you much more calm, I think, than last season.
Right.
Yeah. I asked this one earlier. I just want to get a sense, how it affects their draft, kind of approach here. Anybody you're taking off their board now based on the early moves in free agency? Like, I don't know if this affects like a Mason Graham situation. And again, the D line is still so much in flux a little bit without knowing the future of Christian Barmore. But I also do think that based on not knowing anything and having a recurrence of a serious, potentially life-threatening issue, I think people should be leaning on the side of, I don't know if we're going to see him. What, Taylor?
Josh Palmer is with the Bills. So a couple new players in the division. Yeah.
De'Ami Brown with the Jaguars.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I just thought we were talking about Josh Palmer.
For up to $12 million.
Yep. 1 year, 10 to 12.
Slayton's getting paid, boys.
Oh yeah, like I said, Slayton's
like, this is great.
He's gonna be a $15-16 million guy.
Cooper Kupp might be happy. It's like, okay, maybe
everybody,
maybe that massive pay cut that I was thinking was forthcoming might not be so massive.
That's the game, right? You wait and the money dries up, but also the market goes up. So it's just, you just gotta, as you said, you can't have. You can't run out of chair. You can't be the last one standing, when there's no chairs. So but you're right. Yeah. But
I think you meant 30 million, not 30 per game.
I think you meant 30 per game.
$30 a game.
$30.
Probably not going to get it done.
We put
he's just doing it for the love of the game. Love of the game route.
If you want to vote on it, poll in the chat how you grade the Patriots start to free agency so far. It is basically I gave you 4 options: A, B, C, D. Most people going B right now. With that, fine, fair. And again, some of it might be beyond their control. I'm going to give them an A for effort. because I do think they're trying to get everything that they're trying this year. You cannot fault people for not being a good enough destination for Chris Godwin or having him be in love with Tampa and wanting to stay there, and that's really the only big miss right now, in terms of guy you went for, guy you put all your eggs in the basket, didn't get him. It's really not your fault on that regard. So I'm still giving them the A for effort in this one. They decided they were going to spend. They targeted players. They went after them aggressively. They maybe even overpaid for people who are on the lower tier because they just wanted to improve 100%. So that's where I'm at. C, wow.
Another one of our boys, Josh Sweat and the Cardinals have reached a 4-year agreement, $76.4 million with 41 guaranteed.
They needed to improve their pass rush, so they're going to lean on that one. I would feel like a B-, B, like in that sort of area, because again, I think there was concern that they weren't going to be able to get people to take their money, and I'm talking again the high end guys, because we looked at Godwin and Williams and said, like, you come away with both, it's awesome. They came away with one. They got one of those guys to take their money, and they were willing clearly to push themselves maybe further than they initially thought they were going to make sure they landed the player. By the way, I think it's now the third highest paid defensive interior lineman in football based on the guarantees.
He is, and he's the highest paid Patriot ever.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what happens, right? Your roster goes to hell. A couple
Take that, Tom Brady.
They never liked you, Tom.
Never liked you, buddy.
It might be in too much sunshine of just going with like an A-, only because if I like going off of what I wanted them to do before free agency started, I wanted them to get Jamie and Sherwood and Chris Godwin. That wasn't an option. I've already talked about DK Metcalf, not the same thing, but still. The guys that I kind of expected them to sign, I was like, yeah, they make sense. They got all of them. Maybe I could quibble with like Carlton Davis, could have got maybe a DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward, Byron Murphy. But honestly, that's not a big enough difference where I'm like, what the hell are they doing? I'm really trying to think of moves they didn't make that are disappointing. It's like Cam Robinson's still on the board. Darius Slayton's still on the board. Maybe add another DB if you want to. Like, I don't really see any opportunities they missed. Last year, maybe you could have said like Jonah Williams, right? Is like the really big one. And even some of the signings he didn't like, Shooks to play left tackle when he hasn't done that since college. While you were talking, Mike, I'm like, let me not be the freaking sunshine rainbows guy. I can't find a lot of genuine critiques because they did what I was kind of expecting and hoping for them to do.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair. I mean, I guess to me, the A would have been you acquired the receiver. And look, the receiver could still happen at some point, maybe not necessarily in free agency, but in terms of like a potential acquisition and trade.
Guys,
and then when you look at the offseason, you go, yeah, I'm in.
And
this is what I want to address.
Let's not do this. What have we been asking for? Like Mike Vrabel said, we're going to be aggressive. Everyone's like, all right, you better freaking do it, mister. Yeah. We're a year removed from burn some cash. They literally were so aggressive. They got a guy to say, I'm not signing with this team. I'm signing with you. Another reason why I might have gone B plus A-. You did what you said you were going to do. You got aggressive and got your guy. Like I'm not saying Robert Spillane. I'm like, no, Milton Williams was the prize. You doubled down to get him. Like for me, that's a very good sign for this new regime, I say.
But that's what I don't get here is like, it's not, what do you want? Like there's you if you know all of the things of they were going to try and they did, it's not a terrific class. So you're not getting stars at every single position. You have to overpay to get anybody to come play for you, given your situation and just the nature of free agency in general. I don't know what people can necessarily expect that in terms of what they tried to do. If they all suck, well, you whiffed on free agency. It happened. Like people were very excited when the Patriots went and got Henry and Jonnu Smith and Nelson Aguilar, not because they were game-breaking talents, but because, hey, they had to address these positions and they were aggressive and they went and they got the guys. It just didn't work, but you had to tip your hat to the approach there. That was the best. If it wasn't friggin' Aguilar, it was Corey Davis and Curtis Samuel were the other options that year. None of those guys are changing your life, in your fortunes either. So you play the board as it lies. This is what you have here in free agency. You had to improve so many places. You got to take some swings here, and you got to spend the money. You got to spend up to 89% of the cap anyway. I
posted the.
And if you wait, you're spending it on worse.
I posted the meme of John Travolta from what the hell's the movie? why am I drawing a blank? The Tarantino movie. Yeah, exactly.
Fiction?
Pulp Fiction.
Looking around.
And it's like
Yeah.
yesterday, so many freaking names were going off the board and signing with their own teams. And I'd written about this a month ago, and I again over the last couple of weeks, like free agency isn't what it used to be. It just most of these guys, because of the cap continuing to go up, because teams are better with cap management, because teams have embraced void years in their contracts, like the best players generally don't get there. Like you get the older guys, the broken down guys, and there's an occasional, like the Milton Williams, Josh Sweat thing, where it's like, look, man, we got 1,000,001 players on our team. We got depth. We can't
Milton
pay this
Williams
guy.
is being replaced by a guy who's better than him.
Right. We can't pay this guy. We can't pay this guy $76 million. We're going to pay this next guy who we think is just as good, and he's on a rookie deal. Like we're good, So like it just doesn't happen very often because teams have gotten much better with it. So again, when you consider the names that were available when we started the day, and getting Milton Williams, and again, that's the prize of the whole thing.
That's the thing is like you landed one whale and then chipped away at other places. I don't know what else you're looking for.
He was on. I mean, he was on their like must-have list, and they got a must-have guy. So
yeah,
I can't call it
and
a C.
if you're the Patriots tweeted this out.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Milton Williams, and I love guys named after mass towns. I love my Rick Middleton. I love my Mike Milbury. I love my Bob Tewksbury. Give me all of these guys here. As many as you can possibly get. So yeah, Milton,
Framingham Lou. Oh wait, he wasn't named after.
No,
he just became
they
part
renamed.
of this.
Yeah, he was renamed. So yeah, absolutely. There, I will say this, and I'm curious whether you guys agree with this last take, and then we'll kind of wrap it here. It is interesting how free agency is what it is, just in terms of the good players don't reach it, and it is. And my evolving theory is this: the franchise tag, which is put in as a team protection. Well, I can't just let these guys leave for nothing, so I can basically hold them hostage here. Is in fact, I believe, costing teams more money. Because what's happening is good players don't reach free agency like they would in other sports because you've got them wrapped up forever and they can't leave. So therefore, the people resetting the market are not the best players. They're the tier 2 players that make it to free agency that make you have to pay more for your best players in the long run. I do wonder whether imagine if free agency included Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Well, the record-setting deals would be Chase and Jefferson, and then Higgins has to fall in below that, but right now, when Higgins goes and gets 35, everyone's going to be like, I want 55, I want a $1 billion. So I think they're messing with themselves here by holding on to these people, because the people who hit free Milton Williams, 26 million, great. The next good D tackle is going to want 35 million, and up that goes. So you're kind of killing yourself here by not allowing more players to hit free agency, because the price just keeps going up on mediocre players. And they're the ones who keep resetting the market. So I don't know. That's my general thinking there. It's frustrating that you're never getting the high talent, that the high talent doesn't get out there because the teams hold on to them, and the prices just go up and up. So every single signing you make, you're going to have massive sticker shock.
You just have to and this is where I really rip Cincinnati. They could have got T. Higgins done last year for $480, right? That was real. They could have done that, and they didn't. They just slapped the tag on him. Like, we're good to let him. We're good to let him walk after this year. And then Joe's like, no, you can't let him walk. I'm going to throw a fit. And then get Jamar done. We're close, but they don't get it done. And then now 35 million becomes 40. And then they promised, by the way, at the combine to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And then Myles Garrett, as they're sitting around, dicking around, trying to figure this out.
Don't wait.
He goes and gets a ridiculous amount of money. So now Jamar goes, whoa, you said I was going to be the highest non-paid quarterback in the league. So 40 isn't enough. It's got to be 42. Just freaking when they're at the point with Christian Gonzalez, if they like Christian Gonzalez enough to say he's a part of our long-term core, which we have no reason to believe they wouldn't, but new coaching staff, whatever, do it. Just freaking do it, because you wait, it's only going to go up. J.C. Horn just got paid $100 million over 4 years from Carolina. He's hurt. He's not Pat Surtain, but now he's the highest paid corner. Sauce Gardner, they should have taken care of Sauce before now. Now Sauce going to look at, well, I'm not taking freaking I'm 5 million better than him, 10 million better than him. Like it keeps going up. So just when you can strike on guys that you think are your core, you do it. Otherwise, draft and develop, replace.
Yep.
Draft and develop,
And that's
replace.
where you're at. Yeah.
And is it just like posturing? I do not understand when you see every year, especially for these premium positions, the price skyrockets every year. What is it other than just being like, I'm the owner, I'm big,
You gotta win. Gotta win. Gotta
Why
win.
would you wait? Because you keep like the Jamar thing. I kind of understand. He's not that guy. Jamar is that guy. Why are they waiting? Why are they? Is it just because it's the Bengals? Because other teams do, like the Cowboys do this dumb shit too. I don't understand it because it never ever works out in their favor if it's an actually good player.
Micah Parsons is like, I'll take $1 billion a year. Like what? Like seriously? Like what? You keep waiting. You keep waiting.
It's hubris. It's got to win. It's like wanting to buy a house and like not doing it over $1 difference and then waiting 3 years to buy a house. Guess what happened? Like you're not going to win that
it's
negotiation.
A great point because we were screwing around with the house that we bought. It was like a $15,000 difference between where he countered our original offer, and I was like, "Why the hell with this?" And then I was like, "Wait a minute,
are we crazy?"
over 30 years or whatever. Just shut up. You like the house, you like the area, just freaking do it. Shut up.
Just do it. Just do it. So just to wrap it up, legal tampering period began. Teams came flying out of the gate. The Patriots made a series of signings. It began small. The day began with disappointment. Chris Godwin, going away, and then just Patriots weren't signing anybody to begin. It begins with a little linebacker here, then it's a little cornerback over there, and people start to feel better. And then Milton Williams goes away, and then the Patriots sign a tackle, and it's all feeling a little better. The Milton Williams all of a sudden didn't sign with Carolina. Oh my God, you're in the game. And then bang, the Patriots make the big splash, and that's what you kind of end it with, getting one of their big fish, signing a defensive tackle as a priority area, and one of their top free agent targets. So you have to feel pretty good about that. There's still a lot of money to burn. There's still a lot of time to spend it. And obviously you've still got the draft. So take solace in the fact that the Patriots are better today than they were 3 hours ago. And that should be better. And they're still out there, and they're still serious, and they are players, and they still have some money to throw around, and there's still some names of interest. So what we promise you here on Patriots Press Pass, as always, if something happens, we get legitimate breaking news, we will pop back on here and discuss it, react to it. Taylor is he's not going to sleep for the next 72 to 96 hours.
That's just going to be the glory of the Milton Williams signing. He's just like Milton Williams.
That's going to get me through the next week. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need sustenance.
We'll still be grinding out stuff, doing some film stuff. Again, we've mentioned if you want to sign up for premium, please go ahead. You're going to get some of the Taylor film review stuff. You want to read all of Mike Giardi's terrific insights, you go to Boston Sports Journal. It's really one of the best bargains in town for the best football coverage in town. And this is not biased because I like Mike, because I do like Mike, and I've always liked Mike. But it is between those guys, you're not finding better football coverage in town. It is terrific. There's other good football coverage too. I'm going to give a shout out to our guys, Andrew Callahan, Pat's Interference podcast here. But not only are these guys going to write, not only are these guys going to write stuff, they're going to pod stuff. So you're going to get their takes too, and they're going to go in, get their own information, come up with new.
Jaguars signed Patrick McCarry.
Who did?
Jaguars.
Yeah.
Womp
Can't win them
womp.
all. Taylor, I could have just signed off, and we didn't have to take
seriously.
the L.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know.
We were riding the wave.
I was upset. I wanted everyone to suffer with me.
We were in the barrel right there. Surfing term. We were living it, and then you just.
My streak was great.
Got
I
smoked.
want to hit 4 hours. That's what it is. I haven't had enough.
We just got smoked by a rogue wave that was Taylor Kyles.
Oh, he smoked me. That's okay.
Sorry.
We're good. We're good. But thank you guys. Thank you to Mike for donating his time.
Thank you guys.
Dedicating his time to us on a super busy day. Mike's going to go over and he's going to be pumping out stuff for BSJ. So subscribe today. It really is a phenomenal deal over at Boston Sports Journal between Mike and Greg Bedard's coverage. Check that out. Thank you guys for hanging. Thank you for being mainly civil. Thank you for insulting me just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I like that. Thank you for Taylor and Mike for doing the heavy lifting on the heavy football stuff. Two of the best minds in the game. We will have more coverage throughout the day. We will see you all later. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.